I'm Nick Mara, and this is After the Turns. After the Turns. That was another good intro. I worked on a little bit from last week. Overall, pretty proud. And we've got a really, really exciting show today. Maybe, dare I say, our most exciting. We've got Matt. Welcome, Matt. Mara, brother Matt. But really, it's not about us today. It's about Danson. We called that win a couple weeks back. We're going to talk about it quite a bit. I know the Maras were very excited about that. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. And we've got our driver this week, Matt. Matt's our driver, Liam Sheen. Gave us a lot of TV time. Liam, how are you today?
Yeah.
Good. Well, we're very excited to have
Pretty
you.
Good. Wish I wasn't fourth yesterday, but yeah, pretty good.
We'll get there. I think we're excited. I think I was pretty thrilled. I went back and watched the broadcast. Man, that thing after the turns Mustang looks sexy up front. That base scheme we have that Nick and I have ran since middle of last year hasn't seen that much action up front. That Mara Motorsports spike on the side, very sexy, and I think we're pretty excited about what happened yesterday, regardless of win or not.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that again in a little bit. I guess we should really start. This is going to be a hard episode, just to not blow through Matt and I. But we're gonna do it real quick, I guess. COTA for me, I was the worst out of the four of us, and it wasn't even close. I think going into turn 12 on the first lap, I almost crashed this back half of the field. I spun out. I wheel hopped and I flew right through the field, but nobody hit me. Into the gravel.
Bush style, he said on the radio too.
It was skill, yeah, that was skill. From there, it was pretty much a shit show, I'm going to be honest. I finally crashed it in the S's after the first pit stop. It was kind of a blessing because once I got the damage, I was done. I was done, and I wanted to watch the end of the race. And it was a very exciting one at that, so I'm very glad that I did get the opportunity to do that. So 29th for me. Better than could have been expected out of 34 cars, so I'll take it because I did not do any practice. I was more interested in what was happening in real life. So and then doing my own sim time. I was never going to get to where you two, Danson and Liam were. So there was just no chance. So with that, Matt.
We got a funny comment in the chats. I love it. Sliding into the DMs like Nick Mara through turn 11. So love it. Very funny. My race started kind of out the same in the sense that I went from I wrecked in qualifying, and it's just like, screw it, I'm not going to take a lap. I don't want to be mid pack here. And and I bought the track I think at 3 p.m. and I did a little bit of laps because I didn't want to completely embarrass myself. And I actually felt somewhat comfortable, which I was a little bit surprised about. I watched the races over the weekend, but not with full attention. I have never before this weekend seen a race at COTA or race COTA in any game, so I didn't even know the layout. So I was like, I got to get a few laps in here before the race session because I didn't even know when the turns are coming up, right? Especially with all the elevation and whatnot changes. Had to at least understand where I was going and where I was taking left turns and right turns, right? So I did that for about 45 minutes after I bought the track the day of. And then, in practice it was okay. I've always been an okay road racer, not great, but not the worst. And I've typically had speed but make too many mistakes. And I think that's kind of my having speed is good in my sense, but relatively is not really good speed. But I've had speed, but I typically make several mistakes, which, it happens on the ovals too. So, get to the race, and I think it was lap 2 or 3. I had gained 7 spots on the start, and I lost it off the last turn, which really surprised me because I did a total of 12 laps of practice, and I hadn't done that one. So I was a little surprised that happened in the race. It's just let everyone by. As anxious as I was to get back on the track, I was like, I'm going to run into someone. And then, Nick, you and I were having a hell of a battle for 25th. You, Dominic Howe, and Yates, Joe Yates, and that was actually very entertaining. But I was behind the three of you guys, and I was way faster. It made me feel like I had lots of speed. And by the time I had gotten by all of you, I think the next car was maybe 30 seconds ahead, and I was losing speed quickly. So it was a quick realization there. During the race,
we were that slow. We were like 8 seconds.
We were in our own league, right? What ended up happening, though, and I kind of kicked myself, is that, I think by, the second run, we're at like lap 25 or so, I'm running 2:20s, which were the fastest laps I had ran. Not impressive, but the fastest laps I had ran on almost 10-lap-old tires. I was finally, figuring out the track. But it was too little too late. And, Nieto's given himself the participation trophy for his 0X. But, he passed Yates and I, and he made me gain 10 seconds on us in like 10 laps. And I know, Matt, you guys did some practice, and you guys were all intense about it. And I know he's a little bit looking forward to COTA, and he was only that much faster. So, hey, I'm happy with 23rd is where I ended up. I guess the one thing that I wanted to talk about, I guess two pieces that I think everyone can maybe relate to a little bit, and I was going to sound off on. And Evan, thank you for updating kind of the penalty structure on the off-track incidents. I raced the race differently. I don't know if you guys did, because of the incident counts, especially on some of those very sharp turns. If you got a little too far over and we're still on track, you got the 1Xs. I don't know. Did you, Liam and Matt, did you guys race the track differently maybe because of those nitty-picky 1Xs that were being handed out and the possibility of penalty points?
No. I was pretty used to where the track limits were with A fixed all week. So I pretty much had a pretty good idea on where, what constituted a 1X and what didn't. But probably the hardest turn to to try to not get a 1X at is the second to last corner. If you hit that just wrong, you're gonna go straight and go off. It's really tough. But overall, it was about the same. I don't think you would be much faster if you cut the red part a little bit extra. Maybe you'd shave a tenth off a lap at most. But other than that, I don't really think there's much benefit to cutting the track much.
Yeah, I didn't change anything. I love
this. This is why we have you guys on the show, right? So thinking
you're just slightly below average, just like me. That's what it is.
Yeah. Sometimes I need to be put in my place.
I think I went for bulk incident points on the cooldown lap, which all still counted, because I forgot, of course, that although we'd finished the race, there's still a lot of the field's still going. So I'm pretty sure I ended the race on 28, but on the books I'm down 34. But I think, to be honest with you, I think even going into the last lap, I think I probably got about 6 incidents.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So we've got the last lap queued up here, and all the many mistakes you made, almost handing it off. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. The other piece that I wanted to bring up is because of the incident issues, I guess I was concerned about, because, I'm already maybe getting like 5 or 6 points this race. I didn't want to lose another point. And I had the misconception that they were standings points. So, Sam mentioned that in the Discord. I was under the same assumption when you say penalty points. I thought it was standings points. I didn't think it was incident points. I don't think anyone's too worried about those unless you get several of those. So I feel a little bit silly. I would have raced differently. Surely I would have gotten completely off the track, Matt, when you and the leaders came by. And I had thought I had ruined your race. The one time Hugo did not catch me making a major mistake, or at least I didn't have the balls to check any harder. We made contact during the race, and I felt really silly, but at the same time, I didn't want to leave the track to get the 1X. because I was hovering. I was thinking it was an 11x at that point, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to make enough more mistakes." I had Joe Yakes a little bit behind me. We were racing for position, and I had basically stopped in the S's and pulled all the way to the left and let everybody go. And here comes Danson. Must have assumed that I had gone completely off the track, which we talked afterwards. You did, and just acted like I wasn't there, which I had a whole bunch of damage, and I was like, shit, I ruined Danson's race, and he's not going to come on the show on Monday or Tuesday.
You did give me a little bit. I looked afterwards, so you made the front left look a little bit crinkled, so kind of ruined the photos, the post race photos. But yeah, I saw you all the way out there in like the car park, and I was like, oh, okay, he's letting me go here. And then so I still gave a little bit of room just to be safe, but then next thing I know, I get like a sort of boof in the door, and I was just like, man, what's he doing to me? Like, I'm going for the dub here.
These are the assholes we're supposed to be talking shit about on the show, and I got to face him on
exactly. I was like, man, I don't know how much can I say when I'm looking at him on the camera here.
I was surprised. I thought you were going to be
really angry all week. He planned that out the whole week.
Oh, yeah.
Danson said he was going to be 2 to 3 seconds slower than the field. We'll make him 2 to 3 seconds slower than the field here.
I was that much slower. I did a little bit of practice, probably about an hour's practice before the race. Like probably, gosh, it was 7 a.m. for me, so that would have been like 6 p.m. I guess, 5 or 6 p.m. for you guys. And Liam was there actually. He came in and did a lap, and I saw him sneakily. It was just an A-fixed session. He sneakily put himself into a different group so he couldn't be seen. But I was on that straight away, so that didn't work. And then I saw him.
Oh, you saw it.
I saw him lift coming out of the last turn, and I was like, okay, like I saw his lap time, and so then I just went. All I basically did was went out and did a lap, and just replicated exactly the same thing he did coming out of that corner, just to see how many tenths he would have lost doing that. And so I had a pretty good gauge on what his speed was. And so, Liam, why don't you talk me through the mindset of trying to show.
Well, actually, when I was...
Did you see my 12.9 in that session?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Just making sure.
Hate to break it to you, my best was 12.6 of the week, so I had you
Wow.
beat on that part. But yeah, but I actually did do that on purpose. I saw, like, when I was starting my lap, like I did that all week. Me and Drew actually just went into different practice things, so no one could really pick up on what we were doing. But you know, I mean, I guess you kind of did that in the winter series. I mean, at road courses, you kind of like never put down a lap, and then you just wait until qualifying and put it a second faster than everyone else. But yeah, so yeah, I was actually just doing A-Fix that hour, so I just popped in a practice session, and then I was just gonna do A-Fixed and got the win in that. But yeah, I was just doing A-Fix, so I wasn't really trying to hide from you. I just saw, oh, he's in here. That's where he is. I saw 12.9. I was like, okay, well, that's practice conditions. We'll see. Because I was expecting a hotter track. So I was like, I was having a look at practice laps all week and seeing where everyone up was, and I saw like Cody Harris, like he was pretty new to the league, I think. So I saw him put down a pretty good race pace. So I was like, okay, so he'll be a guy to watch out for. But you know, I saw you putting down like 12s or 14s in practice conditions, and I was like, okay, so that's where it's practice conditions. We'll see if it's any hotter in the race. And it wasn't. It was way colder than practice. So I was like, I don't know, that kind of blows. But yeah, so it wasn't really to hide the lap from you. It was just what I was doing all week.
So Liam, I think this is a natural transition to kind of what, you know, how we got to COTA with you in your day. So we stopped talking about the crap runs because you were awesome and you were fast, and I know you were hoping to come out and win, which is one of the reasons obviously we wanted to be on the car, so we got on a lot of TV time with Liam, and we had, Liam, I think you're one of the first people we talked to about being on the show, and obviously you missed a few weeks, so we delayed getting on the car and getting you in the show, but I think we were really excited with the run and being up front.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race for me. Starting on pole, that's always nice. I think that was my second pole in the league, so it's pretty nice. Actually, first pole here since I think I was Daytona last year. Second pole, so that was always nice, and obviously first pole on a talent track, I guess.
Hey, a win's a win, a pole's a pole.
Hey,
so
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick's still making his petition
so,
for getting his Clash victory counted as an official RSR win. So.
There's a lot of talent involved in that. So no, yeah. I qualified second this year, and holding the wheel straight was not the easiest thing in the world to do. Is what I'm gonna say, even if it was. So.
But so in Q, I was like, okay, if I could just start on the front row, it doesn't have to be pole. I think I could pretty much secure a top 5 because I feel like, looking on practice, I mean, I already went out and ran a 13.1 right away. And I think it was for Renage, I was at a 14.04 or something. So I was like, okay, so I think I have the field pretty well covered. And then I saw a bunch of people putting 13s down. I was like, are those legit 13s? So I just had a quick glance at everyone's lap. And a good bit of them were cutting the track, doing those, like, cutting the little red sections. And I was like, okay. But then I saw Cody, and he ran a 12.9 without going off. I was like, okay, so if I'm going to lose the pole, it's going to be to him. So I just made sure I could do every single part necessary to
face right now, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I
Am I a joke to you?
It was good. But, no. Obviously, I was waiting for you to put down a race in A-Fix or something all week, and you never did. So I was like, okay, so I mean, I saw Cody in A-Fix, I saw Drew in A-Fix, so I was thinking, okay, so maybe a long run pace, that's who I'll have to look at. I haven't seen you run, so I was like, okay, so if there's going to be any race, Danson is going to be, I guess, the least threat at a road course. It would be this one, because it was frankly new for the stock cars. But yeah, so I put down actually, like, my first 4 sectors were purple on the week. So I was actually tracking to it probably mid-12. But I was like, I'm a little too far ahead. Do I really want to risk this to get a 12.5? So at the second to last corner, I took it like super conservatively. Didn't really cut the way to take it quick through the second to last corner. You had to kind of cut that little what's it called?
Turtle.
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah,
I guess
turtle.
turtle. I guess. Yeah, the turtle. You had to cut that. It's always risky because you can easily hit that wrong and go straight, or you can cut too much of it and get a slowdown.
Yep.
So I didn't want to risk that, so I just kind of took it like a normal, like indie corner. So I just took it normal and gave up a few tenths there, but it was actually good enough for pole. So I started pole, and everyone like kind of got bunched up together behind me. So I was like, okay, this is great. So going into turn 2, I lifted normally where I would in A-Fixed, and I went straight, and I immediately slid the tires. I was like, oh, dang. So I was sliding the tires around. I was like, okay, this is nothing like A-Fixed. I have to back down my corner because the track was super cold, so it was super slippery, so I couldn't really hold any grip. Had it been probably 10 or 20 degrees warmer, I think I would have had a better shot at it, but it was just super cold, so I just couldn't really grip up and get used to my normal braking points. So, where I thought I was braking super deep, Danson, Bowie, and Cody were braking probably 10, 20 feet later, so I couldn't really get that good of a run into the corner. So the best I could do is just probably try to get the best center speed, and I don't think I was taking the corners quite right because probably after lap 6, my fronts were gone. So I wasn't getting that much rotation in the car. So once they drove away from me for about 4 seconds, it kind of stalled there because they started battling a bit, and that wore their tires a bit. So it kind of brought me back to them a little bit. So I was thinking all the scenarios through my head. If I could try to stay with them, I mean, they're eventually going to sort it out. The faster car is going to get ahead and try to drive away a bit, so I'll lose even more time. So I was thinking, all right, so maybe if I can pit as soon as I can, because the tires kind of hit a cliff. They kind of averaged around 17s after a while. So 17.9s to 18s, I think that's where the cliff was, and that's probably as slow as you're going to get. So I was thinking if I can just try to get the jump on them while they're in the 18s still, and if I can run click off a few 14s, a few 15s, I could try to get a good enough gap on them to try to break away. And then Brandon came in a lap later, and I just barely beat him off pit road. But then we started racing together, and I think we got together off the final corner, and that cost us a ton of time. So I was thinking, well, that sucks. That's going to be a podium there loss. So I was going to just settle for fourth. Had to hang around 4 seconds ahead of Nick Johnston. It eventually averaged out where I was quicker than him. Didn't really have much for Danson. Didn't have much for Cody. They were just way quicker because they had way more better, I guess, mid to long run speed. I was pretty good on the initial jump, but I just couldn't take care of the fronts well enough because I just wasn't used to how slick the track was. So settled for fourth. Obviously, that's a great run, career best finish in the league, actually. Sonoma last year, fifth. So I improved that by 1 spot. Hopefully Sonoma again when that comes around, I can improve it by
you
one
led
more
5
or 2
laps,
more.
and we were excited about that.
Yeah.
I know. Shout out to RaceSpot TV. They showed our graphic for our upcoming shows, talked about it for like a lap. I'm a dork, and I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. Talking about all of us, and Liam, you coming on the show and seeing the after the turns car there. It's like everything that I think 6 weeks ago was just an idea. It was very cool to see that all on the broadcast. So awesome job. I know we were very happy. I know I saw you and I think Brandon had like a 7-second lead, I think, at a point, after those pit stops. But also knew you guys were on the older tires and not necessarily
11.
The competition was ridiculous, right? So I think I made this comment in the Discord. Liam, I know, I think the second we got in the race session, you put up like a 2:13.1, and I think Farinaj put up a 13.9, and it was like, okay, Liam's doing everything he did before, but then you get to qualifying, and the first 5 were within 2:10s, which a 2-minute lap is like insane how close everyone was at the top. You think all the IndyCar road course events with the Pro Invitational there and the Cup road course one, they're really, even the Coca-Cola series, they're pretty spread out because there's no caution to bunch people together, and everyone was so on top of each other. And I think maybe that's a natural transition to Danson, bringing us one hell of a finish at the end there. I think, did we lose Danson there for a second? Oh, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, he's back. Lost him.
Yeah, so we were just talking about how close and amazing that finish was. Maybe you take us through your week. I know you invited Nick and I to do some practice, which I think we hated the track so much. It just, and I said this after the race too. We could have practiced for 3 hours or 6 hours, and maybe we'd find a couple tenths. But I finished like 50 seconds behind the guy in front of me. So no amount of practice was going to maybe take me from 23rd to 21st. It just wasn't worth it at the end of the day. So appreciate the invite. Please do keep reaching out, maybe at ovals. Charlotte's next week. I'm looking forward to it. But yes, your day was, I think, a little unexpected because of the very low expectations you set for yourself. So maybe we start there. You talked about it a little bit before we got on. Why were the expectations so low, and what happened?
So hopefully I sound okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I just hadn't. I'd done a couple of laps leading in, and I just was not feeling it at all. Like I hadn't done a lap of the track at all beforehand. Like I bought it for this week as well, and went out there, and normally just completely unsighted, I can be somewhat near the pace, and then it's just a matter of narrowing those margins down and finding the additional pace. But I went out there and did my first lap, and I felt like I joined Mara Motorsport. I was just miles off. And
welcome.
I'm kidding.
How does it feel?
Every week, yeah.
When you put that first lap up and you're 8 seconds off, it's the worst feeling in the world.
Exactly.
Or in Liam's case, when
It's
I
a
went
different
in,
mentality, right? So I think, I see, Liam. We were talking throughout the week, and I knew you were at like 2:13 something, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, when I go run my first practice lap, I ran a 2:23, and I'm like, okay, so I'm only 10 seconds slower. So 10 times
a half second to turn. That's it.
142nd lap, 14 laps in. I'll maybe go 2 laps down this race. That is the thought process of a loser in the back. That's
Danson,
my
he thought he was going to get 2 chances to run you over, not 1. So
I only went 1 lap down. I was pretty excited about that. Anyway,
that's a winning mindset if ever I've heard one. But anyway, so I did those first couple of laps, and I was just like, man, this is not okay. And then I was kind of like some other races that had gone during the week, like Road to Pro and things like that. I just hadn't performed to where I wanted to be, and so I just in general wasn't really feeling it. And then like I said, it was only honestly just that a couple of hours before the race, I was like, okay, stuff. I mean, Sam had been messaging me constantly to do practice, and I just was not jazzed for it. But then, like the couple of hours beforehand, I was like, all right, fine. I did a couple of laps and started getting it. I was looking at my data on VRS, trying to see, what am I doing wrong? And got to the bottom of it eventually, and optimized a few of the things I was doing before that as well, and then I obviously saw Liam in that session, and I'd known that before that probably the best I was looking at was a 12.6, and then so 12.5. That's very quick. The quali I was tracking 12.8 until the second last corner, similar to Liam. I had a pretty bad run even through that triple apex, right-hander section. Didn't have a great run through there, but I was still on for the 12.8, and then just destroyed the. It wasn't even a case of hitting the turtle and going wide. I just missed my turn in, and so I was heading for that off track, and I just had to basically pull it up to avoid getting that, and that just murdered me. So, but ultimately you've got to put the lap together, and so it doesn't matter what you were tracking before that, because if you stuff up a corner, you didn't deserve it anyway. So, to come away, honestly, I kind of thought, oh, at least I'll probably still be somewhat near the front, and then I saw all the other guys with their laps, and I was like, dang, okay. So I think I lined up 6th or 5th or something. And
wow.
And I guess which was what you were talking about, Matt, as far as just how close the field was. But I guess moving into the race discussion, there's one change I need to make. Hang on. Need to.
There you go. I thought you were going to break out the trophy, but maybe we'll get to that.
No, I didn't receive that. I got to go and pick it up later. But we got to go full Thug Life mode, because that race was just. I don't know if you saw, but turn 1, I dropped from because Drew took the inside and made me have a really super tight turn 1, and then from there, I think we got passed by. God, what was that? The blue car, whoever that was, and that took it down to P6, and then the end of that lap 1. Thank you very much. Straight up to P3, looking good, and then it was just a matter of trying to save stuff, because I could see, obviously Liam was killing it up front, and doing really good. And I thought, okay, maybe my best shot here is just to try and be really smooth, and just try and slowly make my way forward and whatnot, and after a little while, I saw the gap decrease. So I think I was at the end of lap 1. I think I was 3 seconds back, 3.5 seconds back, something like that. And little by little, I was bringing that gap down. I kind of thought to myself when I got within, because the top 3 I think were contained within 1 second after a couple of laps. And I thought, gee, I wonder if Liam, if Liam and I think Cody was second. I wonder if they're even aware that I'm catching up on them right now because they were in their own little battle. I thought might be able to surprise it. So could you see me coming, Liam?
I saw it actually. I was keeping that in my mind. I was like, "Oh, Danson's getting closer." I was just looking at the gap behind.
That's
like,
all Danson. Danson just wanted to put his sunglasses
like,
on and his badass hat and be like, "Liam, did you hear me coming from behind? I was coming real close. Were you nervous? Were you sweating?" That's what he wanted, and you just gave it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So like at A-Fixed all week, I looked at like it was usually like 1 second, then it turns to 3 seconds, then 5, then 7, then it starts snowballing from there because the guy in second would usually burn up their tires. I probably pulled 4/10, then 6/10, and then I don't know if it was like pretty much for everybody all race. I saw like Brandon, he got up front, he couldn't pull away. Everyone just kind of like recoiled back to them. Same with I guess you. I think Cody kind of like pulled back to you, and then Cody with you, vice versa. So like I pulled away probably about a second, and then Cody pulled back in. And I was looking at Cody. He was like, okay, 4/10, 6/10, and then back to 4/10. And I see Matt. It's like 3/10, 2.6, 2, 1.6. I'm like, oh no. So I was like,
is it something about having someone in front of you to kind of like gauge your braking points and all that? I don't know. I noticed that every time I made my pass for 25th, I would tend to make a mistake after I made the pass. Just for some reason, got out of sync when I wasn't following someone.
Go ahead.
Me? From my side, so the first time I got around, eventually finally got to the lead. That was sort of as the pit cycle was happening, and I started to pull away. I think I had like a bit over 1 second lead. Although I did make a mistake, which then brought it back again. But I really quickly got away from Cody, made a mistake, brought it back, and then pulled out just before the stop, which I then completely screwed up the pit entry, and it closed that gap anyway. So I think it was just the mistakes, but it's more. I think it's just a track that's easy to make mistakes, and I don't think it was anything to do with being in the lead that caused that. I think, although for me, which I know I'm sure we're going to get to the end of the race shortly, but like for me, that part was more was actually kind of twofold. So the first part of it was that I'd absolutely destroyed my tires in the whole process with Bowie and seemingly every driver from that team. Coming into the rear gunner sort of phase as we were lapping them, and then obviously working my way through all the traffic and whatever on the way there. So I think I just used up my stuff by that point. That then I didn't really think I had enough to hold off Cody, and then I think that was getting into my mind on that last sort of lap or so where I was just making just bad judgments, which put me back towards him. But that was that.
Well, I got to tell you, for both of you, by this point, after the first pit stop, I was out halfway through. So I was watching, and Liam, I mean, I guess in our hearts, I think you were number one because you are number one, and you had our podcast on it. But once we kind of knew the strategy. And once, maybe the tires would kind of even out, but once we kind of got Danson got by you, we were hoping for both of you on the podium. And I got to watch the whole second half of the race and all of your battle. It was a lot of fun to watch, I would say. And, Matt, you were kind of speaking to it earlier. For a road course race, that was probably the most fun sim road race that you could ask for. Just from watching it, I'm sure living it was even more fun. So walk us through, Danson, the last 10. No, it seemed fun. It seemed fun because you won. It seemed fun.
Stressful.
Exactly. The last 10 laps or so, I was counting down. Yeah, I was counting down. And Liam, I saw it once Brandon got past. We were like, let's hope he can get to third. But it kind of evened out there with Brandon. But Danson, you and the 6 of Cody Harris had a hell of a battle. Let's talk about it. But,
well, I think before we get to the battle with them, I think, Matt, you specifically want to talk about something, and we'll go to it. I know you said 10 laps to go, Nick. This is about with 9 laps to go. So I'll go with the replay here.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, you're in second right here, Matt. and Brandon just passed Sean for the spot there for the lap.
To lap him,
Sean is a lap down. You're I think by the time you catch Sean here, you're about 1.5 seconds back. So talk us through kind of what you were thinking at this point. They're team cars, right? So I don't know, were you anticipating it being a struggle here?
It's like one of those things where you kind of always you got a couple of things running through your mind, right? So I was sort of half anticipating, okay, is he going to do something goofy, or is he just going to let me by like he should? Like so they don't catch it on the broadcast because the camera's obviously watching. Yeah, look at that. The camera's obviously watching the leader, but so in turn one, I'm to his inside, and he just turned straight across my nose at that point, and so I had to check up, and I was like, okay, and then coming out of turn one, he's like,
you've already missed it, and you're side by side right here, right? So you're trying to get by him in the S's, which is incredibly difficult. At this point, if I'm a lap car, I'm like, fuck, I'm in the way. I'm inhibiting the battle for the lead right now. I feel like an idiot right now. And it's really hard to get out of the way in the S's, right? There's really nowhere to go, which we see through the rest of this that they actually did catch on the broadcast.
Exactly, but even before that as well, and you kind of catch it, but it's a weird sort of camera angle. Coming in that chute between turn one and turn two, he takes the inside and then does like a sort of weird brake check maneuver to kind of hold me up. So that's why I then go to the outside. So we might catch that on the second time through, but he kind of goes to the inside and tries to sort of balk me there, and so at that point I knew for sure, like, because already in the turn one I was kind of like, oh, maybe he just didn't see me or whatever, who knows. And then in the turn like the run towards turn two, then I'm all right, I see what's happening. And then the shit in the S's. And that's why I don't know if you would have heard, but I keyed up the radio, and I try to stay off that as much as possible. But hang on, here we go. So you can kind of you miss out on seeing this here with him cutting me off, and then coming out of the corner. Do we get to see it through here? No, you don't really.
Not as bad, but you see you're kind of stuck side by side right here, and it's like, okay, at this point, I mean, there's no. You go back a little bit here, right? Like you look at the track behind, and there's. He's not racing anyone here, right? I think, Liam, that's you coming off of one, right? There's nobody in the general area, which, I can see maybe if you're racing someone for position, maybe you want to, but there's nobody here, right? And turn one would have been the perfect area to get out of the way, right? There's not a lot of opportunities to just kind of pull over and let people by, but turn one could have been a place where you get out of the way, you don't really cause a lot of disruption. And then because of that, you're running side by side through the S's here, right? And here he almost runs you off. And I mean, he's doing what he can here. He's committed to running the line through the S's. And I don't know how he doesn't, completely miss the S's there. So it was a miraculous effort by him to not miss the S's completely there. I don't know how you guys went through there side by side, but by the end of that, you lost 1.3 seconds. And as close as everyone is right now, 1.3 seconds. And catching someone, one thing, right? It was very, very difficult to the pass. We saw at the end. I got to imagine you're a little thrown off there. You got to regroup. So what are you telling yourself after that?
What am I telling myself?
How do you calm yourself down and reset? You're 2.7 seconds now. You're catching Brandon. You're 1.5 seconds back going into one, right? And then you have this whole incident or whatever you want to call it that puts you 2.8 seconds back. And, I mean, that's you got to be significantly faster to catch that even in 9 laps, right? That's a few tenths a lap that you just lost, right? So how do you reset yourself and say, I'm going to let this go by. I'm going to go win this race.
I mean, at this point in time, I was more than a second a lap quicker than Billy. As far as what I said to myself was, I mean, if that's what you've got to do to try and, if that's the sort of tactics you're going to try and employ, then, I mean, cool. Like that's on you guys. Like it's not what I would do. Even if we're looking at, top split sort of road to pro stuff where there's actually stuff on the line that really matters as far as, dollars, ultimately heading towards the Coke series and whatnot. Like here, it's fun. We get cool sort of prizes and things like that. But ultimately, we're not making a living or doing anything based on our results in RSR. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like,
yeah.
So that employing those sorts of tactics in that scenario, I just found was pretty poor representation on that individual.
Yeah. So Liam, I know you're a part of a team, right? I believe, right? Maybe I'm a little bit of a noob, but you're a part of a team, right?
Yeah, unattached. So we pretty much live in fourth to fifth split RTP.
And then Matt, obviously you are too, and I think we know their team was very successful. They worked together very well, right? I think there were 1 through 4 at Talladega. Right, and we had Sean on the show. Love Sean. Sean is awesome.
Yeah, right. 1 through 6. He told us the whole story a couple weeks ago. 1 through 6.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought we were talking about my team. No, okay.
Sorry. No. So, what I guess I'm getting at is from a team standpoint, is this something that, if you were on the other end of it, would you kind of deploy a similar strategy? Maybe it's not RSR, maybe it is Road to Pro or something else, right? But say it's Road to Pro, do you play that same strategy there? No.
No, so and there's 2 different rules of thumb with it. So for example, if I'm on the lead lap, and that if that same situation's happening and I'm Casto and I'm on the lead lap, then okay, sure, you don't make it easy for the other car to get around. Cool. If I'm a lap down though, I don't jump out of my way. Like I'm not chucking the brakes on a straight to get out of the way. But as soon as that other car has the line into somewhere, then I back out and give it to him. So in this situation here, he had the opportunity to do that either in turn 1, turn 2, or before the S's. Were all opportunities where I had, an ability to go through. Where all he's got to do is kind of just breathe out of the throttle. But that's turn 1 he just had to hold his line and not chop me off. But whatever. I just think it's when you're a lap down and you're not racing for anything. I think it just is. If I was the reason why I wouldn't do it personally is because of the case that I wouldn't want it done to me in the opposite scenario, because it's just a shitty thing to do. So yeah, but at the same time, like that's why I kind of was just like, I said on the radio, I was like, don't play these games. At the end of the day, he can do whatever he wants. Like if that's what they want to do, they can do that. And there's really no rules to say they can't. I think it's just more of a an ethical or sort of gentlemanly sort of thing, where at some point in time that's going to come around and bite you in the ass. So you just got to I'd prefer to be on the good side of karma as far as that's concerned.
Yeah
My take on it is pretty much like you never want to burn a bridge that you may find yourself crossing later on. So it's in my case, I'm not on a huge Road to Pro team, but say further down the line, say in my split there's a low line truck or an Altus truck or something, say I'm leading and Altus truck's running second and I lap an unattached truck and that is it in between me and an Altus truck. So it's you don't want to burn that bridge by saying, okay, so say unattached drivers are holding up and fixing races or something like that. It's so say maybe 2, 3, 6 months, a year down the line, say, okay, hey, can I join Altus or something? It'd be well, aren't you the guy that held up that you held me up one time? I don't know about you. So it'd be I'd rather stay what Matt said. I'd rather stay on the good side of karma, because you never know, hey, that those connections may come back to bite you. So you don't want to be in that situation. And I'm thinking also from how I saw it in that race, I knew right away once Brandon lapped the 52, I was yeah, he's got.
So I was going to say, so we just watched the replay. We see you in the background there. I think you're about 2 seconds behind Danson. Is Danson being a little baby? Are we blowing this out of proportion, or what were you thinking when you saw that? Were you like, oh,
I love it.
There they go, teamwork. Teamwork wins. Is that what you were what was your standpoint from a couple seconds back?
I think Danson was right with, I guess, how he reacted because, blue flags. I mean, it says like, hey, okay, there's a faster car coming. And actually, at the end of the race, I caught Sean and Ross, and I had to throw a dive bomb on Ross to get by him because I just couldn't get by him because he wasn't really like yielding to me. So I was like, all right, I had to throw a dive bomb on him, and yeah. So I completely understand his standpoint of it because with later in the race, I was kind of breaking even with Brandon. So, given a few more mistakes from Brandon, I could probably get back up to him and get to third. But Sean and Ross are in the way, and I couldn't really get there because anytime I caught back up on them, they'd, kind of like drive in that line where I couldn't get a good exit off. So it's like, I completely
They're racing
understand
for position, right? Yeah,
like
let's be clear. And I think you get to a point in a lap car where maybe your thought process, especially when you're racing someone else, is and usually I make enough mistakes that I owe people letting them by me when they're lapping me. But I guess my thought process is usually like, if I'm Ross or Sean in that situation, is well, Liam's probably not going to catch the guy in front of me, so I'm not going to lose a position over it when it's not really going to benefit him. That would maybe be my thought if I'm racing there. So I kind of align with you on that thought. But yes, it did look like you were at least breaking even with the leaders, which meant that you were probably gaining on Brandon because he was losing some time.
And not to harp on it too much. Sorry, Liam. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, but it's all racing, honestly. I wouldn't really I'm not going to hold any grudges on it because, stuff like that happens. It's RSR. It's not like it's like big RTP thing. It's not like it's going to matter that much in a long run because it's all for just, maybe 1 point. And while 1 point might be big, I mean, getting 30 points is still the big haul on the night, so it doesn't really matter that much.
So, Matt, let's get back to the battle now. Sorry. We got over the drama, created some more drama there at the end. Yeah. Sorry, no, what were you going to say? I'm sorry. I
was going to say, not to harp on it too much longer, but just to put a pin in it, I suppose. This very situation actually occurred in Road to Pro in Atlanta, where we had a super strong truck. All of us. We have, I think, at the time we had 4 trucks in top split. We've now got 6, but I blew up early, unfortunately, from the top 5, which really hurt. But I came back out obviously to try and get as many points as possible, and then coming down to the finish, obviously I could technically sort of play obstruction, to one of my teammates in particular, Braden was in a battle with another guy, and I same deal. I just basically gave him the line and let them do their thing because, like Liam's saying, it's just not worth burning your bridges as well because, like I said, at some point in time, it could be a late race scenario where that guy who I held up, he has the choice of either moving me, for example, or being respectful because he'll be like, oh, you know what, this guy, he races with respect as well. So, I just try to keep on that side. But also, like Liam said, it is just racing, and ultimately you can do whatever you want. So I wasn't too angry in that sense. I was just frustrated because I was just like, why are you doing this?
In the moment, especially, you're racing for a win. You come off being the Xfinity Series champion, and you're winless through almost 10 races here. So you're thirsty.
A lot of drama. Build up.
Ouch.
That's a lot of build up. He's throwing a lot of shade at you today.
Yeah, I know, right? Wow. Sorry, I haven't won a race in 10 races.
You did win. Believe it or not, you did win.
Spoiler alert.
Let's talk about that battle at the end. I think Matt's got more replays he wants to use. So we'll probably get to it.
Ooh. Hell yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, talk us through that. So 1 to go, you got a nice size lead here.
Oh yeah.
Take us around.
So at this point, I'm like, okay, off tracks be damned. I'm gonna use anything I can use to try, because my rears felt like they were gone, and so entering this last lap, going down the straight, I was like, okay, I've been sort of pulling away through this first sector pretty much every lap for the last 30 laps. I was always strongest in that section for some reason. So I thought, all right, let's just get a nice solid run through the first sector, through the S's, all that sort of thing, and just get yourself a little bit of a buffer, because Cody was a bit faster than me through that middle part of the lap, which had all the straights, which I think might be your fault, Matt, because the damage you gave me. So,
hey, you can thank you for having a great finish. Yeah,
exactly. That's right.
Or you wouldn't have been my close. I mean, I see a beautiful looking car right here going through the S's. So
true, but look at that left front though; it's just a little bit crinkled, just enough.
A little bit.
But yeah, so I'm like, okay, let's just get a nice, good first sector, and I hit of the 5 turtles, I hit 4 of them. Like we got the next one come up here. This is only just I get that one as well. Yep. And so at this point, I'm thinking, well, that wasn't very well executed. And then, as you can see, he's right on me. He was closer here than he'd ever been in the laps prior, and which led me to think, oh no, he's going to get a good run through here.
Then you completely missed that turn. Can we watch that again?
Yeah. Yep.
We
can.
So I want to say that Nick told me that we were. You were leading by about a half second. There was some battle. I said, you know what? With the way Danson described his Winter Series championship, there's nobody I'd rather have with 1 lap to go. The dude's got ice in his veins. He's not going to make any mistakes. And Nick was basically broadcasting the race to me over the radio, and I almost made 3 or 4 accidents on the last lap because I was only listening to him telling me what was happening. Very eventful. And this was one of the pieces here. Oh, no, he missed the turn here. Tell us what happened here. You just drove it in a little too hard?
No, this was completely calculated, 100% intentional.
Okay.
I was just, I knew, let's really just amp up the drama for the last lap.
Oh, okay.
So basically because I'd screwed up that entire section beforehand, I was like, I really need to maximize this corner onto the straight, right? And in the process of doing so, just botch the braking zone and just miss my turn in, basically. I just overdrove the corner.
You cut in a little too early. Is that what happened? Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't even know what I did, to be honest, but I remember getting sort of halfway through the corner, and I was like, I'm not making this. And so then my strategy was, at that point, when I knew that I wasn't hitting it right, I thought, let's just try and straighten it up as much as possible to get a semi-decent exit. Because if I had tried to bring it to the apex properly, I would have lost heaps of mid-corner. So I just tried to let it go out.
Yeah, you hit that little piece of pavement there that gave you the speed off, and you didn't actually really lose much there.
Exactly, yeah. So it was going to be much worse, but then thankfully that wasn't too bad. And then here, he'd had a really good run the lap before, and so I thought he'd probably serve me here. So that's why you see, just as we get down to the end of the braking zone, I go to the inside because I was like, okay, if I can just park it in the middle, even if he does give me a little bit of a tap, I can kill his exit. So that's we'll see it again. That's what I do here. I sort of make a late move just in case he has a dive. So I'm sort of watching peripheral vision wise, and just a nice little. And then I tried to just stop it on exit, which you can't really see from that angle, but it was a super slow mid-corner exit. And then I botched this.
Yeah, he has a run here. They're side by side here. Yeah, you guys are.
But I was okay with letting that run. Why? Because I thought if he tries to take the inside on me coming out of there, he's going to be on the outside here. And again, I literally parked it on the inside because his only option at that point is if he can get some sort of crazy run off that other corner, which if I can park it on exit and he doesn't have anywhere to go, well, then he's not going to get a run. So that was cool. And then through here, I was like, just don't screw up this corner. And then I screwed up the corner. And then here, I thought I was going to get hit here for sure. But to his credit, he's super clean. I think he actually got a little bit loose. He might have been hunting my rear end there. But he gets a little loose. And then, yeah.
That's what it looked like.
And then after that, it was fun.
That I was watching, I was like, I think he's going to try and see if he can get to you. And maybe he just got too loose. It wasn't enough to get to you. I think that's more what it was. But
I was also at that point, I mid corner, I was just really hoping, because if you go a little bit further wide than that, you get the slowdown. And if I get that slowdown,
it's like 3 seconds.
Yeah, if I get that slowdown, then I can't cross the line.
Yeah.
So, I was just like, don't screw that up, and then just try and park it, and it worked out okay.
Yeah, it was. We saw a little bit of a swerve afterward. You seemed super excited.
I just kept it in first gear, and I was just whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it was so a race like that. One, if Cody hits you in turn 12, or he hits you in turn 20, what do you think? Is it all fair game? Are you pissed? I'm sure you're pissed, but do you understand? What if that happens? And would you do it if you're on the other side?
No, I wouldn't do it. I mean, like Loudon with the Winter Series, Loudon is a good example of, I think, how I handle a close race like that, where, I mean, I was super fast that whole race, and then it came down to sort of Eberhard and myself at the end. And, I was right with him, but I was never going to move him for it. There's two reasons for that. Reason number one is, I don't think my internet allows it. Being in Australia, I think my ping allows for two things: clean racing or just straight up wrecking someone. There's no in between. You know what I mean? Like if I touch someone, you're probably going to the fence. So I don't want to try and move someone because it could end their race. But yeah, I just don't think it's a good way to get the win. It's just not really. I know it's not very NASCAR, but it's just not my vibe. So to answer your question, as far as what I would have done if he had have got into me, well then my mindset completely changes. If he had got into me on that corner, then he better have made sure that that I'm like gone, because I'm probably not braking for the next corner. You know what I mean? Like, or if I am, most of my slowing down is going to be in the door of the other car, the one that just moved me. So that's because I feel like once you sort of take it into that realm as far as initiating contact, then you better be prepared for that to be returned.
Well, you've won, I guess, a championship. We can only talk about that so many times. Let's just stop talking about it. We don't want to see.
We can keep talking about it. It's fine.
We don't need to. But Liam, you and Matt and I, we haven't technically, according to Nick Silver's Excel sheet, won an RSR race. So, Liam, same situation. You're in second. You're behind Danson. Keep in mind you have the after the turns car. Do you move Danson out of the way in that situation?
Again, it kind of like ties back to what I said earlier. You never know when it can
come
back
but
to
if you win, does it matter if it comes back to
obviously,
bite you? That's the question, right? So, I mean, I think you went all in on COTA. I would have expected you to take that after the turn Mustang and use the front bumper on that beauty and just, Danson's got enough wins. He's got that fancy trophy coming to him. I think you take into account who's leading the race, right? You see, he's got some wins. He's got a championship. He's not going to lose sleep over this. I would have 100% bumped him.
Well, the thing is, so like before the race, so like I missed two races because I had to sit out. Not because of a penalty, but I had some problems with something. But so I had to sit out two races. So like before the race, just before we got qualifying started, I had to look at the Dan Lisa. I'm like, okay, so I'm out by 46 points. If I just finish top 5, I can easily cut that gap in half. So I'm just thinking all race, okay, so if I don't win, I can just pull a top 5 and I'll be fine. So when Matt got to me, I pulled aside and let him go. So in hindsight, if I was second, if I was Cody, would I bump Matt? And it'd probably be not, because you never know when that can come back to bite you. So say I'm leading Sonoma, or if I'm leading Road America later on, Matt will see that as an opportunity to say, hey, I can just bump you, and then we'll get we'll get even. So it's like, it's the thing is, like with those road course races, you only have so many of those opportunities, because outside of road courses, I'm probably like a 7th, 8th place guy. So, I'm within that 8th to 12th place range. I chill around there. So, barring, some crazy stuff like Vegas last year, the likelihood of me winning a race at a 1.5, pretty slim. Would take probably a 7-car wreck to even put myself in contention. So if I'm in that position, would I bump him? No, because it just you never know when, say, hey, if I'm leading Daytona on the last lap, in the summer or something, Matt sees if I'm side by side with, say, some random guy, that also needs to win a race. You know, Matt will remember that. If he's behind me, who's he going to pick? Well, Matt's going to think, okay, well, there's the guy that sent me
you found the route as to why we're doing the show. We're making friends with everyone, right? And so we get to the restrictor plates, which are Nick and I's only opportunity to win. When we're up front, the question is going to be, do you want to be talked about highly on After the Turns tomorrow? Or do you not want to be talked about highly? And
I got to tell you.
That push, right? That's what we need every little ounce we can get.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Matt, I think you're lucky that you're the host, one of the hosts of this show, because you may have been on replay where you ran into Danson. And we'd be talking shit about you right now. So I guess we kind of covered that. But
I talk shit about myself.
Everything's good. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But can you imagine what Danson would be saying about you right now if you weren't on the show? We would have spent 10 minutes.
We would have dug up that replay. I think Danson would have gone in the iRacing replay, found a way to record it, and made sure we shared it. So
you should have. You were probably too excited.
Snapchat 10 headlights.
True.
Yeah. So.
But
go ahead, Liam.
So with all that, it's like you don't want to be the guy that sends someone, and obviously, like even with After the Turns, like it seems like most of the controversy, like all the arguments or whatever happens, it's usually from what people say, not what people do on track. Like I remember, like after the race ended, we were congratulating Matt on the win. We were like, all right, good win, Matt. That was a good race or something. And then, right before someone, a familiar name, right before he left the session, he's like, "Oh, wait for the people to race or finish the race or something before you start talking." I'm like, "What?"
Oh, I didn't catch that. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure y'all remember.
Who was that? I didn't even hear that. I think because I was doing burnouts or something. I was probably doing most of the talking actually. Yeah. Who was it? Who said that?
It was I think Thomas.
Thomas George. Thomas George has probably never listened to our episode. I feel like we'll get the most viewers we've ever had for an episode if Thomas George decides he's going to join us.
Was he in that race?
He was.
Yeah, he was back there. He was between Matt and you guys.
He was about 2 minutes
back. He wrecked on lap 1, I think, and then he also wrecked on lap 4. So you didn't know who he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit, I never would have expected him to wreck.
A lot of us wrecked. So I
own that, right? So there were, and I was shocked. People were shocked if you didn't check out the race results. 2 people got 95X, which just blows my mind. So shout out to Monte Major and Rhett McBride for doing the nearly unthinkable. I would have loved to have seen triple digits.
Yeah, I know, right? They should get a penalty for not getting to 100.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get 95, just get 100, right, at that point.
Yeah, that's right. Like, what are you doing? Did iRacing stop the count? Like, I don't understand how both of them could have got to 95 and just, that's it.
I can't get any higher. We saw it.
Broke the game.
And Rhett finished 12th. Like, he must have had speed, right? So it was not crazy. And then I guess shout out to Sam and Nicholas Johnston with the 0 X's, like on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Like that's equally as impressive to get a 0X, especially at COTA.
What did you, Liam? What did you end up with for X's? I know you said Danson, you were like 34.
I'm at 17.
So I was being really careful. So, because I was thinking, okay, if I could just stay under like 10 incidents, I can knock off that or one of the penalty points I have. So now I'm down to 1, but I only got 2 11, so I was being pretty careful with it.
Okay.
I was trying to keep it close to 10.
Matt, you mentioned that Rhett had good speed because he got to P12, but by my reckoning, with 95 incidents, he ought to have speed because he's like, once you account for that, he's probably missed an entire lap, hasn't he?
Yeah, so that is, well, that was my frustration, right? And that's why I asked you guys at the beginning if I'm crazy, because I felt like I lost some speed because in practice, in all 12 laps I did, I got multiple 1Xs for just, I felt like hitting the corner right and maybe just going a little too far to the left. So I drove extra cautious with attitude of not getting the incidents, right? So I would have definitely driven differently. Now, again, talked about this earlier. I gained a second a lap. Maybe I gained one spot, right? So I'm whatever, right? But yeah, no, I do think there is a little bit of an advantage there, right? I mean, he's got 4 incident points, right? So, I mean, I guess you get the 6, you're suspended. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that. But, I mean, it's not that hard to not put yourself in that position for a couple weeks, right, where you're causing accidents, or at least I'd hope so. So, yeah, no, I do feel like it gained him time.
We went to your onboard during the broadcast, I noticed, with the camera watching you drive around. I thought for a while you just were wearing the VI headset on the way down to the grocery store with the way you were driving. So, I mean, there might be some lap time there to be found just by going a bit faster.
So that's I had skipped that earlier. And when I had shown Nick this, he Liam, we did it in the pre-broadcast stuff before you got on, Matt, because you were taking your time. So I showed him this.
He wins. He doesn't.
I was ridiculous. So I'm in my 30s now. I'm out of shape, but we'll pan to. I put my Fitbit on before the race.
No way.
And hey, I mean, the Fitbit doesn't lie. Why would the Fitbit lie? This is legit heartbeat on the side there, right? So I don't believe I actually burned 780.
Did not burn 783 calories. I'm sorry.
That's incredible.
My body fat is around 27-28%.
Oh my God, that's unhealthy,
right? So maybe I did, but at the same time, you see here, over 100 for the entire race. So I put it on at maybe 740. Right, because I strolled into practice feeling extra confident with my 2 minute and 23 second practice laps, and I over 120 the whole race, right? And I think this section called cardio, where I got up to 140, I think was when I was racing Dominic and Joe and Nick for 25th place, because we were having a hell of a battle. It was a lot of fun, but yes, it was a workout. I will say. My first race with RSR was at Sonoma. I finished 12th. I don't think anyone would believe that. I'm very excited to go back to Sonoma. And I was legit sweating after that race. I was not sweating after this one, but this does show sim racers are athletes. That's what this shows, nothing else.
Oh my gosh, I can't. If you had seen my initial reaction to that was just I still don't believe it. It was a shock when I did that. No, I don't think you.
I love that. That's brilliant.
So I was taking a stroll, right? But that's because I was so exhausted after that 25th place battle that the only battle was staying on the track at that point. You're that far back, and even when you spin out, right? I spun out on lap 3, and it's just like, okay, well, I can rush to get back on the track, but what is that 2 or 3 seconds going to mean at the end of the race when we're doing 2.5 minute laps and there's 40 of them, right? It's going to mean next to nothing. So patiently get back on the track, and it didn't mean anything, right? Because whoever was before me was at least 40 seconds ahead of me. So I'm not racing it that hard at the end. I'm catching my breath. With my self-given probably diabetes and asthma due to my lack of exercise. So, but no, it was a workout there for a little bit. I was sweating. Make sure I made the mistake a couple times where I've worn the RSR hoodie I have, and about like 10 laps in, I'm sweating, and I'm like, why am I wearing a hoodie right now? But Liam and Matt, you guys are running fast laps, and maybe my out of shapeness exaggerated the numbers there a little bit, but I have to imagine, I think Matt, you said you had to go take a nap afterwards, right? I have to imagine both of you thought that was a workout. That's 20 turns for 34 laps.
Yeah. I mean, it was especially I think I stressed a lot in that last. I probably sweated the most in that last lap. But Matt, I wondered, do you use your blinker on each corner, or how do you sort of handle that?
I finished 23rd. Ask that question to 29th place finisher Nick Mara. So
I watched the last half of the grandstand, so I was fine. I was in good shape.
I saw Nick do a high precision maneuver through the field very early. We should have recorded
that. That was great. Yeah,
we needed that. Exactly.
It was super. Honestly, it was You guys, this was one of the most impressive things that probably happened in the race. I was sliding, and I was like, I'm going to take out 3 guys, right? I'm taking out 3 cars. Who am I going to have to apologize for? And then I made it through, and I was stopped, and I was like, oh, my God, Matt, I didn't hit anybody. Did you see that? He was like, yeah, but you got to go. And I was like, yeah, I get that. But, like, let's appreciate the fact that I didn't take out a quarter of the field in the back. Oh my God, it was awful. It was awful.
I love that. Did you guys have that conversation in the sand trap at the time, or was that just on
I was in it. He was still on the track.
COTA has a lot of runoff. We didn't hit any sand traps, thank God.
You guys did like the Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott sort of, high five thing, but you were just off the track at the time.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit of a high five, like, hey, we're here together. Not on the track. Good job. We spend most of the race here.
We do typically run around each other. I think there were 3 races at the beginning of the year where we qualified on the same row, like 3 weeks in a row. It was pretty ridiculous. So for whatever reason, we're pretty even. I've been iRacing for 5 years on and off, and Nick has been racing for 8 or 9 months now, maybe. So I don't have the excuse, but we tend to be around each other if we mean it or not.
Real quick. We should probably get off of COTA and ask Liam some questions. But, I think, Danson, you got a lot of shit for winning today. I'm just going to add a slight bit more to that because, Matt, I'm surprised. I don't think you watched Danson's interview.
No, I did. You didn't mention us. What the heck,
Danson? I was thinking, I was like, I'm going to keep the broadcast on because surely the guy that we've included as a third Mara on this podcast is going to mention us. And then we ended, and I was like, yeah, he probably just forgot. Now I'm going to go cry in the corner, and shut it off. That's all. There was a lot of people that were thanked, but it wasn't us. So just duly noted for next time. When we're on the podium, I know who we're not thanking.
I'll add it to the list. I got a lot of sponsors to get through. There's a list of people that that I've got to
pay. Make sure want to get on the list, Nick. We should be just
that's right.
Up.
Can we spend 50 cents to get like on the back, like the back quarter panel or something? Just like throw that on.
Yeah, after the turns can be a personal sponsor. That's fine. Speaking of shit though, so I just had my partner came in and showed me just seconds ago showed me a news article because in Australia we've just gone into like a secondary kind of COVID freak out.
No.
Or third, sorry. And so people, I'm sure you guys had this as well over there, but where everyone just bought all the toilet paper.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So our shelves are empty again. People are panic buying, doing that same old thing all over again. So it might be strictly sim racing for me for the next few weeks by looks of things.
That means you're gonna beat us if you don't sneeze. Did you say you're gonna? Oh, okay. You're gonna kick our ass. You already did this week, kind of. So,
I think that's a good transition to maybe a real world question for you, Liam. I guess what has COVID been like for you the last year? Mm-hmm. Have you gotten to do some more sim racing? I guess how have you maybe refocused, kind of what you're doing?
So pretty much sim racing for me. Like I didn't get a wheel until maybe late 2019, so I was pretty much just did like Carb Cup, like stuff like that, because I had no idea what was beyond that. I thought that was pretty much it because I was pretty ignorant to what was on iRacing. So I pretty much just chilled in Carb Cup pretty much all the time. So I got a wheel in like late 2019, and with the whole pandemic thing, I guess I was able to get a little bit more like serious about it. So I just spent more time in some practices, some official practices. Didn't do much racing. Just wanted to pick things up as I went. So I think it was like Sonoma week where I just sat down. I just did a bunch of practice just to try to learn how to take the car around a corner, and then I signed up for RSR. I think it was mid-December. I think it was. That's when it wasn't mid-December. It's like mid-January. That was when signups opened. I was like, oh, this is a cool league. It's on RaceSpot. It has Evan on there. So I was like, okay, I could just hop on here. It'd be fun.
That's just a fun little thing to do. So you go from racing Carb Cup to racing with Evan Pasoko. Can you talk a little bit about that jump? Right, like that's a pretty huge jump. I know, Nick, you did the same thing with RSR. I guess, how did you find RSR? And I gotta maybe talk a little bit if you had nerves for that kind of maybe the first race you did.
So it wasn't really like that nerve wracking because I didn't really like iRacing really was just a hobby to me, and I didn't really think it was like much beyond that. So I was just like, if I messed up in that race, which I did, I think I wrecked like twice into big ones, but I qualified on pole somehow, some way.
Pole in your first race?
There's that pole in my first start.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got pole. But then once we got to Auto Club, I think I finished 32nd. So reality check. But then I eventually, started making my way up the order. It was like 26th, 22nd. I think by the end of the season, and I went to Sonoma. I finished 5th. So I was like, okay, so I have a little knack for this road stuff. So, I just, kept putting my name out there, kept doing some official, kept trying to learn. My rating climbed to like 3K, then went to 4K. Now it's at 5K. But it's slowly climbed. And it got higher and higher. And then, I got on a team, I think it was like Sim Performance Group or whatever. So I was on there for probably a couple months. And this is all during the pandemic. So I was able to, kind of get serious about it, kind of, grind some practice into it. And then, then I got on to, come to this year. I did the winter series, pushed my buddy Dominic to a win. That was pretty cool for us.
That was Daytona, right?
Came the winter series. Yeah, Daytona. I remember I got wrecked by Ross at the line, but thanks, Ross. But so coming to the line there, that was fun. Winter series, it was okay. I think I got a few top 10s here or there. So yeah, then came the duels. I'm pretty sure Matt remembers this, but I got pretty upset over that because I was like, I did the podium, so like it wasn't a really good week for me on iRacing. So I was like, doing a bunch of like Daytona races because like, okay, these are a bunch of big races they're putting on and stuff. So I was like, I did try to qualify for podium. I think me and Matt were in the same heat, and I was in a good spot to get in. Then I got shuffled out by Daniel, so I went straight to the back, and then I got in a few wrecks, and couldn't do anything. Finished 30 something in the heat, and I think it was like top 18. Went to the LCQ or whatever, so I couldn't even do that. So I was like, that's a bummer. And I signed up for another race. It was like some ERA thing. It was at Daytona, and DNQ for that. I was like, okay, so whatever I do, don't DNQ for RSR because that'll suck. And what do you know? Something happened. I was like, so I'm in the pack. I see Matt coming back. I'm like, okay, so here comes Matt. I can just kind of like, I'm pretty sure he'll drop back. And then he got back in line, and then he went outside or whatever, and then he came back down. I was like, oh. Yeah, that's what I was like. I was like, I probably said a few things I probably regret saying, but I was not happy. I was like, everything for that week kind of like came down. I was like, and then I was like, my buddy, I think it was William Schmidt. He was also in the race, and he DNQ'd because he got a meatball from that wreck. So he couldn't make the race, so that sucked. I was like, yeah. Then I got my karma for that at Daytona, coming to the line, or not coming to the line, coming to the white. I was running third. I was like, okay, I'm in a good spot to, win the first race of the season. And then coming to the line, go to the outside, and I got hooked, and I'm flying in the air, and I finished 33rd. And then I'm like, okay, if we could turn it around, Homestead, finished 12th. Okay, that's fine. Turn it around at Phoenix. Okay, I can get this rolling. And I fall through because my computer crashes, and finish 42nd. And then, just stuff like that all season just been like piling on. I'm like, okay, so now I'm sitting 24th.
You missed a couple races and you
points out.
Passed me up in points. I have not missed a race. I was a little surprised until this week that you hadn't had a top 10, but that kind of explains the bad luck you've had this year. So certainly we're excited to see you get some success here.
Yeah, I was expecting to be like 60, 80 points out because I missed 2 races. I'm like, yeah, and I saw how those races went, like Dover. What was it, like 10?
Oh, ridiculous! Yeah,
5 cars finished. It was pretty much nobody left at the end of the race. So really? I was like, okay, Dover, that was a big opportunity. If I race that.
It was a low amount.
Yeah,
So I
it
think
was like really tiny amount.
Steve Durham finished like 21st, if that helps you set where we were with the field.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I was like, if I was able to race that, that would have been, all great. I'd probably be, fringe in probably by 2 or 3 points off, but I couldn't race it. And then it was, I think it was Kansas. I couldn't race that either. And again, a big race where a bunch of people had problems. They kept smacking the wall out of 4. I'm like, if I was in this race right now, I could be probably, top 10 right now. And, a bunch of people kept slapping the wall. I'm like, if I wasn't making those mistakes and if I was out there right now, I could probably be in the chase or be in that, playoff spot. So I'm like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, so I'm probably going to be like 80 points out. So it's pretty much a must win going into COTA. So I just sit down all week. I'm just doing A fixed after A fixed after A fixed because I'm thinking if I can just get a bunch of races in, I could probably have something for Matt and Farinaj. And Farinaj was actually doing a bunch of races too. So I'm like, okay, so that's a good person to gauge off of because I think he won 2 road courses.
He won like 4 of the last 5, yeah.
So I'm just sitting there. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so that's a good gauge to base off of. And then turns out track temp is 20 degrees cooler in the race. I'm like, that sucks. So like all my braking points, all my shifting points were completely just garbage because I couldn't base it off of what I was doing in AFIX. So I was thinking, like, if I couldn't beat Matt on the short run or fast lap, I could probably, maybe have something for him on a long run. And I just didn't have that. So I was thinking COTA was like a must win. But then I came out of that race, I'm only like 29 points out. So I'm like thinking, well, I could still point my way in, given I have a good Sonoma, given I have a good Road America. That's my best road course. Hopefully I can maybe finish, second.
Well, Danson's like, you haven't seen me yet.
He's smiling.
Yeah,
already.
oh boy.
Hell yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Put back on the glasses and the hat, man.
Finish within.
Yeah, they're ready.
Yeah, I'll be lucky to finish within 30 seconds there. Can't wait.
You never know. Who knows?
But I was thinking I was thinking back, Winter Series, I was probably a minute back from you, and then COTA, I was only 10 seconds back. So I'm like, okay, so there is improvement there. Yeah, it's building up, it's getting there. If I can just keep at it, maybe one day I'll be at that stage where say it would be like me and Cody. It would be like, Cody, Matt, me battling for the win or something. So I'm just thinking okay, so maybe it's Sonoma. If I just keep at it, I can just keep going. And maybe I'll have something for him at the end.
I'll step in here because I think it's a nice transition. We do have some questions in the chat for I think Liam and Matt. Some good questions. Maybe not iRacing related. Nick, you'll get to them. But I'll make this opportunity to say, Liam, we know you're great at the road courses, which is why we've worked together on a deal to race 2 more races together in the After the Turns Mustang at Sonoma and Road America. We're very excited about it because we know you're going to be up front and you have a chance to win. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's hopefully I won't forget the
I saw you said that. I'm like, Liam, I sent you the base scheme. I said I've never seen it on the Mustang. I don't own the Mustang. It still looked very sexy up front. And again, watching the broadcast, I think it was lap 20. If you guys want to go back and watch the 2 minutes they talked about the podcast and showed Liam, and then at the front, just watching that car up front, very, very, very cool. So thank you for everything you've done for us just in the one race.
Yeah, thank you. And you got
no problem.
Yeah, you got to finish.
Thank you guys
3.
for.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you got to finish top 3 because Danson's not going to bring it up. So you gotta do it because he's just not going to do it. So it sounds like
I almost got interviewed, actually. I think it was, Cody couldn't make it to his interview. So, RaceBot was there for a bit. So I was, scrambling to get TeamSpeak down. I'm like, guys, I can get in. Please just wait a little bit.
So that brings up such bad memories. I wouldn't say bad memories because I had an awesome interview. And, Liam, I think you said your best finish was 4th, right? So you haven't had the opportunity yet, this week being 4th, right, to be interviewed. And I think Nick and I know our only chances at the restrictor plate races. And so I was thinking about this last night. I brought up back some memories because Nick and I did not have TeamSpeak installed when we finished 1-3 in the clash. And so Nick was scrambling and he was not able to get his interview. And it was like, oh, we get the pain, right? Because Nick never got to have that interview. So I think something that I've thought about, Nick and Matt, when we have Evan on in a few weeks, I think there's two pieces to your win, Nick. One, you want to win an RSR because you want an Evan call. Maybe we get Evan to do a call for us, a recall of the last lap of the class for us, and then maybe you can do an interview, like a Tosh.0 redemption, right? So, if any of you guys watch that, that would be pretty great. So, maybe we'll do that.
Freaking corny. Okay, yeah, sure.
It's corny, but I would love it. So
that would make anything
for me.
Yeah, okay. We'll do it for you, but we're also going to do it for me. Okay, all right. That sounds like okay. Well, Liam, we're very excited to have you on with the After the Appearance car. We'll have to make a custom die cast of that as well, I think, for all of us.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should. So, yeah, we do have a couple of questions in the chat. We'll leave it to the professionals, Danson and Liam, to answer for us. And these are not necessarily iRacing questions. So I guess the first one, it's pretty basic, but what song gets you pumped before a race? Or I guess bands. It's probably not the same song every time. Liam, you first.
I'm going to give a really boring question here, but I'm not one that listens to music. So I kind of just sit there. Probably I just watch, if anything, I watch F1 highlights, and that kind of gets me like pumped. I'm like, all right. So it's like, I mean, that's something to watch. It's like some way to get like in that race mode or whatever. So I just kind of like, think of that, gets you in that like competitor mode. Like, okay, about to race.
I don't blame you. So I have downstairs. Nobody wants to know mine, but no. I have downstairs. So I have a race mode.
Daisy.
I'm gonna no. I'm gonna tell Google it. We'll listen real quick. Hey Google.
Oh, no.
Turn on race mode. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Let's see if it works. If it actually works.
Oh boy.
Activating the race mode.
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear it?
You don't watch anymore. You said you don't watch. It's a NASCAR and Fox.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, yeah, the NASCAR and Fox intro. Yes.
Yeah.
That's your answer. That's okay. That's really funny. Danson, what about you? What about you, Danson?
So I was just looking at what I was playing beforehand. So I in the lead up to it, I listened to Dear Diary by Bring Me the Horizon. One More Day Won't Hurt by Slaves. What else did I listen to? I think, here we go. I had, just going back in because I know after the race, I was listening to the soundtrack to The Last of Us, which I listened to a lot. And that's an awesome game. Devil Cry by Crystal Lake. Just songs to really, really grab you and smash you across the face. So that's where I was. And yeah, that's the soundtrack of winning, basically.
Okay, that's right. Can you send that to us? Can you make a Spotify playlist? We'll call it winning.
They might scare you though.
Yeah, I probably. Honestly, when you were saying the names, it scared me. So I can only imagine what it's going to be. But winning kind of scares, I think, the market.
That's the kind of music we listened to 15 years ago, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was 14 too, Danson.
Bring Me the Horizon.
I really like that when I was 14. For both of you, we're going to start Liam first. I think there are right answers to this question, but what kind of games or interests do you have outside of iRacing?
Good question. So I usually, I usually play Valorant with my friends. Valorant. I played Portal with my friend Garrett. He's in this league, Garrett Hess. So we play that. Yeah, Valorant. Portal. Sometimes we play Counter-Strike, but other than that, it's just pretty much those three. Pretty much that. Yeah.
I think Matt, you just mentioned The Last of Us, right?
Yep. Yeah. Freaking love that series. Anyone who hasn't played both the first and second game, need to do that immediately. I've played both of them way too many times. Like I said, the soundtrack is a daily, occurrence that gets played at some point in time. In fact, actually, tonight, so it's currently just shy of 3 p.m. for us here. At 8 p.m., myself and my partner, a number of other friends, are convening at one of our other friends' place, and we're going to start a group playthrough of Last of Us 1 and 2. So obviously I've played it a gazillion times already, and Alex, my partner, she's already seen it be played, but she's not a gamer, but she really loves the story. So we're going to go and share it with a couple other friends who also aren't really gamers, but they're it's such an engrossing sort of hi Alex, such an engrossing story that it doesn't really matter if you're a gamer or not. It's like being movies and stuff. So
yeah. It's
an
immersive movie,
that'll be
right?
cool.
That's what I try to convince my wife.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a movie you interact with. I hate sitting around and watching TV and movies when you can interact with it, like with a video game.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, that has not swayed my wife. So congratulations with your partner there. Not many women will maybe take that approach. So good on you for
that's true.
He's saying that. Yeah, he's saying that because she's probably in the background, so he's really sucking up to her, I think. So.
No, or me, or your brother. No.
No, my wife's sleeping and she'll never watch. I love her, but she's getting sleepy to watch the kids. So she will not be here. And if she does somehow watch this, love you. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Good. Well, Alex did actually. She heard me talking about it, and she literally opened the door and she said, "Are you talking about The Last of Us?" And I said, "Yes." And she was like, "Yeah, nice." She knows that at every point of every day at some point, Last of Us will be featured on whether it's a YouTube video or something. There will be some reference to the game, which is crazy. It's got that sort of longevity with me, I suppose. But I freaking love the whole thing. But so that's probably my favorite game. Other than that, if I go back in time, a series that I really loved, but I've fallen a couple of games behind on, was Metal Gear Solid. So I played the first couple, back in the day, and then I kind of fell out of gaming. Just didn't really do that too much. So then after that, my interests sort of more went to I was just focused on regular stuff like football, basketball, as far as playing in just amateur teams with friends and stuff, and then obviously got back into iRacing in 2017, I think it was, and that's sort of taken a more as of last year took a more serious, or maybe 2019 actually took a more serious kind of side for me. So that's that probably consumes a lot. For my PC basically is exclusively for iRacing, so which is kind of a waste, but
no, it's not a waste. It's not a waste of the way you're playing. And I guess we're getting some really hot questions in here, and I want to get to all of them.
I love it.
And Matt, this is directly off The Last of Us. So what do you think about the casting of The Last of Us TV series?
I'm open to see how it pans out, but I wasn't actually a massive fan. Actually, you probably see in the background, got the Star Wars posters, but I wasn't a massive fan of Mandalorian, to be honest with you.
Take.
And so, yeah, I know. And but meanwhile, I actually really enjoyed a lot of the sequel trilogy, which I feel like in some cases, this is going to lead into so many more people getting outraged in the comments. That might be good, but I feel like people tend to just hate on things and whatever just for the sake of it sometimes. So the hate on the sequel trilogy, I felt like was completely unwarranted, and the love for Mandalorian was just it was bizarrely out of nowhere, because I don't feel like it was that the Mandalorian was kind of arse really. It just you had the little Pikachu sort of Baby Yoda thing happening, and then the stories were all like, interchangeable with this like slim thread of an underlying like story that went throughout the whole thing, but it was really pretty weak. And then just the redeeming thing was at the end of it with what sort of went down there. But even then they stuffed that up because too often you like go into like ultra close-ups, like Fox Sports style close-ups of the faces of characters who I don't care about, when a character that I really do care about is doing stuff that I really want to see, and we're watching it on like CCTV style from Pikachu's watching the CCTV of the character I actually care about. And oh man, it's like such a missed opportunity. That really pissed me off. Anyway, so I can't remember what the question was. I'm too angry about the Mandalorian now.
Nothing else matters.
Remind me.
I have to win you back.
Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, what do I think of the casting? Yeah, so I wasn't super jazzed on the casting of Joel, and I felt like the girl kind of looks like, I don't know, just doesn't have that Ally vibe. But who knows when it all comes around. Like obviously they're being cast because they're good at what they do. They would have earned the position and whatnot. So I'm sure I hope they'll be able to do it justice. And yeah, I'm very much ready and waiting for that.
Well, I guess we should just cancel the Mandalorian based off those reviews. So.
Yeah, 100%. No, I don't know. Like, it just there's elements of it that were cool, but it also just seemed like you could change the order of those episodes and it wouldn't really make a difference to what was happening. Because we've had 2 seasons now, right? I'm not imagining that. There's been 2 seasons, yeah.
I think there's. I don't watch Star Wars. There's a hot take.
Okay, Matt, remove Nick from this thing immediately.
I watched one of the Wars of the Stars, and that was it. Like 1 out of 9. So, okay. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll take your recommendation for it, but will not watch The Mandalorian. So, Liam, we have a question for you. This is an interesting one.
From the chat. It's from the chat.
Yeah, it's from the chat. So, okay, so there does seem to be word around the league that you very well could be very hard to pass. So, what is your mindset about racing hard versus letting people go? Do you agree with it? This is the first time hearing of it, but we really only raced together once, and it wasn't an RSR. So I don't have a comment.
So here's my mindset on it. So so I can let people by, and I do that. And when I get back to them, they don't return that respect. So it's like, there's some people that, yes, I will race harder than I would others. Like, say, if it's Vrinaj, I'll let him go. If it's Bowie, I'll let him go. If it's Nieto, I'll let him go. But say, for instance, I'll just pick on Dominic. If Dominic races me hard, if I let Dominic go and I catch him and he's just on my door, when I get back to his inside, he's just on it. Next time when we race together, I won't let him go. So it's like, I'll just keep that in mind. And while, yes, I'm probably pretty difficult to pass sometimes, there's probably something that was done before and that'll probably make me do it. Probably sometimes I do it and it's probably, not for my benefit. It's probably just inexperience on that part. But, it just depends on who it is. Some people will race harder than others just simply because, people are harder or they don't like, I feel like there's like some people that just like, if you're not in the top 5, you're going to be raced differently. So like everybody that's in that like limbo range of like 9th, to 12th or so, they're just like seen as like, also ran. So it's like when you see people that have a good run going and they're like, okay, who's this guy? I'd never heard of him. You just move him out of the way because you're not seen as a guy that can contend. So it's like you're not going to have that extra respect. So it's like you want to like prove that respect, but it's also like, hey, you can't just like, bump me out of the way, because it's like, I think Matt saw it at Richmond. I was being shunted by one guy repeatedly over and over and over. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just driving, and I just keep getting sent and sent. It's like he's trying to wreck my car. I'm like, what did I do? So it's like stuff like that. That's when I'll like, go back, and I just won't let him go. I'll just park it on the high side, pinch him down, and just won't let him go, because it's like, hey, you tried wrecking me. You're not going to get much out of that. So it's like, I'll race people hard when they try sending my car for no reason. And that's pretty much it.
So Liam, you've moved up the ladder pretty quickly. You're, like you said, 5K I rating now, shortly after Carb Cup, which is not going to get you to 5K I rating. Can you talk about what the biggest lesson maybe you learned going up the ranks? And getting to 5K is hard, right? I think Nick, you got up to almost 3K. I think the highest I've gotten to is about 25K or 2,500K. Definitely not 25K.
25K.
No, not me. Wrong guy.
He's holding back on us. He's holding back on us every week. This is giving us a shot. Okay.
So 2,500K. Getting to 5K, you're no slouch, obviously. And Matt, this is a good question for you too. But we'll start with Liam.
Wait, what's my I rating? Can you say what mine is?
Doesn't matter what yours is.
I don't know. It's probably like 7.
That's your I rating.
But yeah, so what is the biggest lesson maybe you learned? You feel like it clicked, right? It clicked. Like somehow you went, there's a hurdle you have to take, to get from 2,000 to 3,000, 3,000 to 4,000. Something additional has to click in your head. You're like, I get it, right? So what is the biggest maybe lesson you've learned that's gotten you to a 5K I rating, which, it is not the end all be all, but it expresses the amount of advancement you've done in your sim racing career?
Yeah, it's the thing that clicked was knowing that you don't have to win every race. You don't have to win. Like wins aren't like everything. Like you can finish second, fifth, like I don't have many official wins, but I have like probably close to 25% of my starts are top fives. So it's like, you don't have to win every race you're in. So you don't have to drive like you're going to win the race, because there's really no point in just driving as hard as you can for no reason. So it's like, it's more of learning how to like come to terms that you're not going to win, and you're not going to win every race, and you can't go out expecting to win. You got to go out, learn, see what people are doing, and then picking up on that. And, it's mainly just learning how to lose a race rather than, trying to win every race, thinking, you're going to be okay. If I don't win this race, it's all over for me or whatever like that. You just gotta learn how to like work your way up, and, things will come naturally. Like road course racing, like stuff like that, you're not going to really learn from watching a lap. You can't really learn from looking at sector times. You got to kind of pick up those little things on your own. You got to learn, you got to learn those little parts of the lap. Like throughout COTA week, I was started at 15s. I brought it down to 13s. And it's mainly figuring out those little parts of the track, little parts of, how you race it. You got to pick up those little things because they build up. So you just got to come to terms with the fact that it will take time. And that's about it.
Matt, do you want to share some insight?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got some data as well, which I can reference in a moment here. So for me, as far as
are you going to show us your heart rate from the race when it was at like 90 beats a minute the whole time?
I've got my my fat burn and whatnot. No, so I, as far as what clicked, I mean, so basically what happens is once you reach 4K, iRacing actually start giving you extra grip. So every 1,000 I rating from there, you have more grip that's afforded to you. So it's actually much easier to drive once you get to that point. So you just got to reach the threshold and you're fine.
Right? You're shitting us, right?
No, that's serious. Didn't you know that?
No, he's lying. I can tell he's
lying. There's no way.
I've never been to 4K.
We're noobs. We're not that much of noobs. iRacing's not giving you. We don't have that much time to build that.
You got to just grind. You guys have to grind the next week or so.
I think our Mara Motorsports combined I rating is like 3,900 right now. So
well, listen, that's the problem. Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
the
think,
problem.
I think that's a great transition to what I want to talk about a little bit. So we're going to go here to the owner standings, the Extreme Performance Motorsports owner standings, who are not officially recognized by Real Sim Racing, but they're recognized by After the Turns as the official sponsor of After the Turns owners point standings. So you see here, Matt has passed us by himself.
Logitech G Altus.
Or eighth. I looked at this morning and I was like,
This is a pretty intense battle. We're in a battle now.
Eighth and ninth for the owner standings.
2-on-1.
2v1. I don't know if it's fair still.
Mars
that
versus
is
That's a fair fight. That's a fair.
Whirlpool Motors. Is that Stove's team?
Which one is
Is that
that?
Stove? Whirlpool? Is that Stove?
It might be.
Who knows?
Well, they didn't
Yeah,
update my team
yeah.
name, but yeah, that's wow. I missed 2 races and I'm ahead of Stove. Okay.
Where are you? Are you ahead of us? You're ahead of us, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just right. No. I'm not ahead of you guys, but I'm just ahead of Stove. They didn't update the team name. It's total downforce, but they didn't update to unattached. But I'm on my own, and I had a good bit of guys.
Yeah, I think we'll continue to monitor this. I think it's going to become some drama between the Maras and Danson here for this 8th place in the owners' point standings. I think the 2v1 is still not a fair battle, but it will keep things interesting to say the least.
Danson, if we beat you, I think we're gonna get another banner put up that just put 8th place. Beat Altus Racing.
The after the turns owner point champions. Yeah.
Oh no, owner's
I'll get a
point
few-
place ahead of Altus Racing and Matt
Do
Danson.
you want me to? I can get a few more teammates in if you want to. Like we can even up the numbers and just do it that way.
On our side?
Hey, we've got more siblings.
On
Bring 'em
my
in.
side. On my side.
Yeah, we need to form an alliance with Altus Racing.
No, Nick, Joe got so our younger brother Joe bought an iRacing subscription last month. If we get him on the Nick Morris schedule, he'll be on in time for the winter series. We'll see. I'm doubting that. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, hey, maybe we expand the team. I don't know. We'll do what we got to do to beat Danson. I don't care if we have to play dirty.
Another roadblock in the RSR. No, I'm joking.
Somebody's got to race for 40th, right? So
yeah.
Hey, to be fair, I'm excited for this. I know we're going to talk about it. I am excited for this week for myself anyway. I think I will. You guys will probably lap me, but it'll be a little later on in the race. So yeah, exactly. So and you keep calling us roadblocks, I'll be a roadblock. I can give you some right front data. That'll get your left side. I'll get your right side. That'll be the Mara Motorsports discard.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I've actually got something here. So I was just having a look at some stats. Because as far as where things are at. So Drew, for example, he's actually got two accounts which are just insane. Like as far as his rating. So he's got one which is Drew, and that's 7954 iRating, and then his Andrew account is 8015. And he has 3 actually. He's got another one, has he? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, free notch too.
Nice.
Yes,
so
I've seen that one.
And while Danson's looking at that, there is a comment in the chat. My first reaction to seeing Nick Mara in winter. Oh my God, there's another one.
Who commented that?
So Jack of RSR 31, welcome to the chat. You've asked some very interesting questions. I don't know what your real life name is. I don't know if you want to reveal it to us.
Oh my God, there's another one. That's a really good reaction.
Exactly.
That's an appropriate reaction. That's to be fair.
I know exactly who that is.
Is it Sam? It's probably Sam, or it's Stoke.
I can't disclose. It could be anyone, but I can't disclose. But as far as just to say from my side, as far as because I went from I was pretty mediocre for the longest time, and then in mid 2019, started taking it more serious and had a super high, had a pretty steady jump from that point. I think Liam's on point as far as being a bit more like circumspect about the races and what you're going to do with them. You know, like you obviously can't always win. I mean, my win percentage in 2021 is 51.9%. So, I mean, you
I guess
can't
you
always
can't
win all of
Can't
them.
win everyone.
I guess
You can't win everyone, but you can win
Yeah.
half of them. But I
So
guess,
that,
like,
I guess that kind of leads to another question. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you're getting to the point
We don't
where
want to hear about your percentage anymore, so we're
well,
definitely.
one of the other questions is, one of the other questions is tangibles. Like, obviously, you've got something, right? So if you look at an iRacer, what is a tangible someone has to have to be good? Because I think a ceiling for Matt Mara is obviously a lot different than a ceiling for Matt Danson. I can try forever. And I'm an uncoordinated fool in every sport. So especially, I'm sure it translates to sim racing. So if either of you, and Matt, I guess since we were talking to you, we'll start with you first, and then we'll go to Liam. What would you say is a tangible, maybe thing you would look for in a good sim racer?
Well, I don't really agree that you can't get good. I think an intangible though leads into that, and that's the ability to like constantly adapt, evolve, understand, you know, where you're going wrong, and work on that. Because too often, you know, so for example, when I first started, you know, a thing that I would do is, you know, you go into a race and you're like, you know, you see how you go, like you try and drive fast and you'll finish P10, and you're like, well, I finished 10th. All right, quit, you know, go to the next one. But you know, nowadays, for example, if I, you know, when I'm taking it seriously, of course, you know, if I didn't have a good run, I'll break that down and try and work out what I was doing that was wrong. You know, I'll analyze what the guy who won, or, you know, people that beat me, what they were doing, and cross-reference that against my own performance. I think that's the biggest thing, because you know, like if you just chalk it up to you know, bad luck, or actually that's another thing. So if you get in wrecks, so a lot of times I hear people who are like, oh man, I've just been so unlucky, or, you know, whatever, I just keep getting in these wrecks and whatever. At some point in time, you have to, like, well, I mean, basically every single wreck you have to look at what you did wrong. So even, for example, when I get run over by Stove at Dover, you know, there's ultimately things I did which led up to that.
You could have given him
necessarily
the inside, even though you didn't really have to. But to avoid the action, you could have let him go, right?
Maybe, but like, more so, what I'll do is go even further back than that. So, for example, if I didn't qualify wherever I qualified, if I put in work before that to be further up the front, well, then of course I'm not going to be in that position. You know, even before then, if I'd been more tight, you know, or more aggressive, even, you know, overtaking Sam or whatever the case is, like there's obviously different steps that lead into the different things. So I think even in wrecks that aren't, you know, your fault, or you know, weren't your doing, there's always things you did which contributed to it occurring. So just that sort of mindset is what I more so changed, because if, you know, like I look back on my results, and even when I had speed, you know, in years gone by, I wasn't converting that, and I wasn't closing out races where I should have won. You know, I'd finish third, or I'd finish fifth, or I'd wreck, because I just wasn't closing it out in a appropriate way. And that's the biggest thing that I did, which is going back and reviewing, looking at how it's my fault, even in situations which on the outside didn't look like I did anything wrong. You know, I executed as I should. Just break it down and find out, okay, what are these trends that I'm doing that didn't work, and then improve that way. And with my Road to Pro season, with how bad that's been, I've had to do a lot of breaking down, because it's not been good.
Liam, what about you?
All right, so I think Matt really nailed it on the head there. Or hit the nail on the head. But I had a conversation with my friend. I'm pretty sure Matt knows him, Brandon McKissick.
Yeah.
I had a chat with him the other day. Yeah, I had the chat with him the other day on this kind of thing. Actually, a couple weeks ago. But pretty much it's all just like taking everything, like every race you do, as pretty much something to learn off of. And, you know, using what you have available to you. Like, you know, if you're watching, like, say if you finish second to Casey Kerwin or something, you know, Casey's like 10 seconds ahead, You go back, look at his stream, look at his throttle inputs, look at his wheel inputs, see what he does differently, and see how he sets up his race, and try to clone that. Try to not try to clone that, but like there's always like some fundamental things that they do that you're not doing, and if you can kind of incorporate that into how you drive, that'll help you get further and further up the grid. So it's a lot of like just taking what's available to you and just learning from it. And I look in my Road to Pro season, I had to miss one because I lost my A class, and that was my fault. And that was just because I just kept putting myself in bad situations, and I lost my A class. So I had to spend, I had to sit out Vegas week, and I had to just work on getting my A class back. And I got it back in time for Vegas, finished third at Vegas. But, ever since then, my Road to Pro season, I just I had to look back and just see what I have to do differently for next year to see how I can just put myself in better spots, put myself in better situations. And, even last night, like I looked at what I did. I was looking at what Matt was doing. It's not completely accurate what the replay shows you because you're not actually getting that data. But, I got those like general ideas, that what he was doing differently, what I have to pick up on.
What was I doing?
And, for Sonoma, learn. You were a lot slower with your wheel inputs than I was. Like I was a little bit more erratic than I was with my wheel. So I was looking at that and I was like, oh, that's a good bit where the front grip's going.
It's funny because Nick,
so
I gave you that
like,
exact opposite feedback. So this is, and again, idea of a segment that I had that I don't know that we'll ever follow through with. But Matt, you made a good question or a good comment. I think the week before we met with Dylan, the first episode we had you on, was that there's some of us think we know what we're doing, and we're way off, right? So the one comment was on Dylan. And I thought maybe it would be hilarious if some point we had the time to have Dylan tell us each week about how to get ready for the next race. My thought process was that we're at a road course. So Nick had gone to 14-1 in practice, and he was trying to be smooth on the inputs. And I told him, road course, you don't have to be smooth on the inputs. You want to make those hard, aggressive turns. Matt, that's why you have with your GT car the different steering wheel, right? So you can make those aggressive turns, but maybe it's different in this. Maybe that road racing doesn't correlate to the stock car, right? So is it still smooth inputs in the stock car?
I still like to keep, I still like to keep my big stock car wheel, even like, even when the stock car is at a road course. And I know some people do like to change over to the Formula and GT style rims for those, but for me, I prefer to have the big bulky one because the stock car doesn't like those, like yanking the wheel so much. Because all it tends to do, in my experience, is just like induce like understeer. And then you just grind the fronts. Like I never have the issue on road courses in the stock cars of understeer. I never feel like I've got that problem, other than the only corner I ever really struggle with that would be the coming back onto the oval at the Roval. That one where you get back on. So that's the only time I ever am like, damn, I wish I had some turn right now. But I think that's an interesting insight. Any insights with the pedals or anything at all? Or?
With
could
pedals,
you hear me doing anything interesting through that?
I may have to go back, but I think what we were doing was pretty similar with our pedal inputs. I think it was all the speed. Like I had pretty good. I mean, second run, my inputs were way better with my throttle. Obviously, I chewed them up in the first lap, and they're gone. So, I looked at the second run. I just took it way easier, and I was pretty much at your pace after a certain amount of time. Then I got to Ross, and it was like a brick wall. But so it was I kind of got that pace going, but the biggest thing was the wheel input. And then I was just looking around on YouTube, and not just YouTube, but I was looking at my like past races, like Richmond week. I think I did that with Nick Morrow or whatever. You were there, I think it was Nick, but Freenage did a race, and I was like, okay, so Freenage pulled a bit. Let me have a look at his wheel. And there was something that was super, super different about his wheel input that I don't think I'll disclose, but I saw that. I was like, that is so weird. So I tried it the next race, and I was instantly probably
That is 100% what I noticed. And honestly, like VRS, so this is maybe a plug for Danson a little bit and your sponsor, right? So I'm a subscriber to VRS. You got the inputs and all that, and you have the tutorials by all the greats and hopefully future Matt Danson, the in-depth tutorials and all that. And I will say, with someone who doesn't have a lot of time to get prep for speed and practice, right? Like, super helpful, right? I had never been on COTA. I watched the tutorial, and super helpful. I can get on the track and at least feel like I maybe know what I'm doing. But at the same time, looking at inputs, looking at data, and understanding how to interpret that into physical action, because I think a lot of us, maybe in the back, at least myself, I feel like I'm doing it. Like I'm letting off at this point. My throttle input looks about the same. I'm getting on the gas about the same. For some reason, I can't save the tires. For some reason, I'm not as fast, right? So I do think there is a piece of talent that you should both give yourself credit for, because looking at the data is so much. Acting on it is the next step, right? So give yourself some credit there. But yes, what I've noticed too, and I've told Nick this, is I think it's unmotivating to practice, because I've always felt like in that 30-minute session and in previous leagues, I've had up to 2 hours of practice session time. I've always learned more by getting in people's in-cars and kind of watching what they're doing. And Liam, you bring up a great example of how that benefited you in a piece. And again, interpreting that and actually doing something with it is the next level skill set, right? But it does help to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like my teammates were in top split NAS, and that's where I picked up on it. And this was like, I didn't do it in the RSR race because I wasn't able to participate in one. Oh,
yeah, I'll be right back. Keep going.
Gone. All right, so like I picked it up and I was watching like Richmond, and I was thinking like, that is such a weird thing he's doing. And Richmond came and went. And I was like, oh, I completely forgot to do this. And then we did Talladega, and that was that. And then I wasn't able to do it. So I'll try it at what was it? Where were we going to? Charlotte? Oh wait, that's a long race. That sucks. That's gonna be a long one. But yeah, I don't think I was able to try it at Richmond. And I was expecting to have a better run at Richmond, but then I got hit by Stove on the front stretch, and it completely destroyed my car. So I was like,
we should get like a counter,
sucks,
a Stove counter.
Well, we're at, it took 2 hours and 5 minutes to make jokes, Nate. Okay. I mean, totally makes sense. He needed to get a mention on this. So thank you, Liam. Thank you. I think this was the longest we've gone without mentioning his name. Right, go. No, go. Good. It's funny, Liam. I saw I at Richmond.
But yeah.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Well, at Richmond, at Richmond, you were getting beat around. You were at the end on the last lap. I know that for sure because you were behind me, and I just saw you getting pinned around like a pinball. So that was after everything that had happened, I think. So it was a wild race for you.
Yeah, that race was something. But it's just like stuff like that. It's like little things you got to pick up, and you just got to observe and see what they're doing, and then you got to incorporate that into what you're doing. And if you can just incorporate that and find out what the right things are to practice, that's when you'll pick up those things. And with iRacing, it keeps changing, so you got to keep adapting to it. You can't fall behind, because you can be good on a V6 tire model like a couple of years ago, and then you could try to run the top and you'll just destroy your tires because it's just not the same. You can't run up there. It's just a matter of finding what the right thing is to do, and you got to find out, like, okay, this is what you have to do. This is how you get faster. This is what these guys are doing. This is how they're going faster. How can I do that myself? And it's just all about incorporating, what the quick guys are doing into what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt, I know we didn't fill out the power rankings, but you wanted to go over them. You filled your own out, so.
Yeah, so we're gonna transition to the end of the week and kind of wrap things up. I know we've been here for a while. Danson, stop yawning. I saw that. So we'll go over to the power.
Sorry, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm just giving you shit. So we'll go over to the power rankings here. And these are interpreted by only me for this week, but the intention will be that all three of us, Danson, Nick, and myself, as well as Evan, and I think is it Noel or Noel on the broadcast team? Seems like he's going to be here every week. We'll get everyone who's involved, who's part of the broadcast team, as well as our team here at After the Turns. We'll put together some cumulative rankings here. But I've got enough for a conversation starter here. I don't think they're crazy. And Nick, I think you looked at them and you were not – you had some feedback, which is part of the purpose here, right? So we'll go here from the back to the top. So we'll start here at number 10 with Sean Casto as number 10 here. I guess any thoughts here? I know, Nick, maybe you're the one with the strong opinions on this. Did you have any thoughts here initially with Sean being in this piece?
No, I've got a strong opinion. I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to hold it for when we get to the top.
Okay, and I feel like maybe it's something I missed, but Sean, Sean has finished 16th, 9th, and 22nd last week. He is, second in points, so that's why he's up here. Those rankings, those ratings, the 10th places. The third place in the points, but also, not maybe performing up to what he was doing at the beginning of the year. So we'll go to the next one with Mr. Nick Silver at 9, 3rd, 11th, and then 20th. You try to give people the benefit of the doubt with the road course, understanding. There's only 5 of them on the schedule, right? Or I think there's 5. Maybe I'm wrong. 7 on the cup schedule. I don't think we're doing 7.
Yeah,
right?
7 in real life.
Oh, wait, yeah. If we didn't run Daytona.
Thank God.
So,
Yeah.
next we'll go to number 8, which is Kyle Trudell, who's finished 5th and 6th in the last 2 races. I was a little surprised about that. He's not 8th in points.
He's a superstar.
Yeah. And I think I looked at this whole area here. And I think the first 3 or 4 kind of had separated themselves by a pretty significant amount. But anything past that was really difficult, honestly. So, we'll keep going here. To number 7, to Brandon Bowie, who, he led a bunch of laps. I think Brandon's going to be with us next week, if I looked at the schedule correctly. So hopefully he'll move up a little bit by the time of that show.
What are his last 3 results?
Yeah.
Brandon was 8th at Kansas, 23rd. A lot of people had issues at Dover, including yourself, Matt. He finished 23rd. He had some early issues, I think. And he finished 3rd last week. He led a bunch of laps, right? So
just wait for your ranking, Danson. Just wait for your ranking.
Yeah.
That's
and
if you're even in the top 10, you might not be in the top 10.
Points.
I might not be in there. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, man. But
Danson's not even ranked. Yeah.
You put Trudell behind Bowie, but he's sounds like Trudell's had a better run leading up to this. That's interesting.
So Brandon led a bunch of laps, and he finished 3rd this week, right? So Kyle finished.
Yeah, but that's a road course. That's a road course.
He had the 20th at Kansas, right? And I think Dover, you almost look at it as like an outlier because of all the attrition there, right?
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Nicholas Johnston did not run 3 weeks ago. 2nd and 5th in the last 2 races. He's had a lot of speed.
Oof.
He had the 0x. 0x and 10 seconds behind. Newcomer, dude, you're fast, right? You're going to be one to watch out for. I think one of the things that we'll talk to Evan about in a couple of weeks and that he had spoken to me about is kind of reinvigorating the league with talent, making it one of the premier series in iRace. And not that it's not already, but continuing to build on that. That's trouble for you guys like you and I, Nick, right? But Nicholas Johnston's a perfect example of more talent that's going to come in the league, kind of just come in and shine, right? We've seen a lot of that with. Do
you think when the good guys kick us out, I could be a pit reporter on this thing because that's
Steve Burrow in the current league.
We need some roadblocks out there. The NASCAR needs the Ripware racing cars. And we need the we need the Mara Motorsports cars.
Yes.
You need some people to
worry.
What? Yeah, nothing to worry.
There's still a number of guys. There's still a number of guys that have to get booted before you guys do. So you're sweet for a while yet.
Yeah, I think we got about 10 before we really.
Yeah, you guys have a.
And I think we'll
we
make
got
enough
a little
friends
bit
here where we can get a petition going if we get kicked out or something like that, right?
Realistically, Durham should be sweating right now. If he hears of new people being added, like you just know that he'd be stressing.
So something we'll do in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, at Sonoma, we'll mark my 1-year anniversary with the league, and one of the segments we'll do is who's joined since I left. A lot of big names, including you, Matt, have joined since I joined, and who's left. And I think we'll see the talent that's been incoming far outweighs what's left the league, right? And I think that's going to be emphasized, right? So I think that will kind of
guys.
What's that, Nick?
A lot of shit just left the league, and a lot of good people showed up. That's basically what you just said.
I'm pretty confident that's what's happened, right? So we'll reflect on where the league's come in the last year since I've joined. We'll do that in a couple of weeks. But I think you look at the power rankings here, there's going to be some new people here, right? Even Nick just joined with the Winter Series, right? Matt, you won the championship with the Winter Series. So it was kind of painful for me to put him here, but Sam Nieto So 5th, 12th, and 11th in the last 3 races. Only one top 10, but consistency. And we'll give him a little bit for the 0x. But we got a comment 5 gross from Jacko Visor 31. Easy top 3. So it is Sam Nieto. That Sam Nieto confirmed, because I felt bad about putting Sam Nieto 5 here, but I looked at the standings in the last few results. Sam, you've been impressive. You've been more impressive than I would have expected. You've had some speed the last few weeks. Just don't get yourself suspended.
He needs to close it out. Like he's got speed, and he's very good. He just doesn't know how to not finish like 5th, basically. Like so I think 5th in the power rankings makes sense. He just needs to learn to close. But I thought 11th at the road course for someone who's not up until like when we did Montreal in the Winter Series, he I don't know how much road racing he'd done before then, but it didn't look like he'd done any. He was still trying to right foot brake, and it was
based on what you were talking about. Like, I guess I saw, he was very anxious to get practicing and all that. And I had thought that he had experience. So if he had little experience and he got the 0x and the 12th place finish or the 11th place finish, very, very impressive, Sam. More reason to be here.
If there was a championship just strictly based on how much practice you do in the lead up to an RSR race, it would be a very close battle between Drew and Sam for sure, because the number of laps that they do, just goodness me, that's insane.
So we should be watching for Sam in maybe 2023.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sam should be. Hopefully he can.
Hopefully sooner, right? Yeah.
He'll win one.
So we'll go to number 4 here. Michael Laria.
Wow.
Here. I mean,
okay.
He's got 3 top 10s. He's got a top 10 streak here, right? So I think it's more than 3 races. I only have initial stats here the last 3 races. Yeah. Dude is the master of consistency. Pretty quietly here, 4th in points, right? So 4th in the power rankings. I don't think it's crazy. Was not a big factor, but his kind of role in the league has been kind of that Kenseth role, right? Like he's consistent. He get a couple wins, and he's gonna win. He's gonna race for a championship.
Yeah, nice.
To add to that, like go back to Phoenix. Like that title, if Steve Durham doesn't spin out 42 laps down, with 20 laps to go in the race, that championship.
Well, I think we need to have a segment. I mean, that's not you're not the first person to bring that up, right? So I think when we get Steve Durham on the show in a few weeks, let us understand. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to show the replay. We're going to replay it about 50 times. I do know I have the replay stored as well on my machine. We will revisit it.
I love it.
Sure.
Oh my god,
I love it.
Okay, number 3, Cody Harris. I mean, can we complain about this? Dude has been on fire. I think he look at the last 3 races: 7th, 7th, and 2nd. To come in and compete with Danson for the win. And Danson, he was faster than you at the end. And I got on the radio and I told Nick that I thought that Cody was going to win. I did until you get to a couple
He
laps.
wasn't
to go, and
watching
you're
the
like,
race, but he thought you were going to win. He couldn't see it, but he thought you were going to lose.
But he
that was
just
the
felt
confidence
it.
he had. He just
well,
felt.
no, I felt the damage I gave you, and I thought Cody was going to win. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
but I mean, Cody has come in here, and he's a perfect example. Him and Nicholas, and not Nicholas Marr, unfortunately, have come in, and they've been extremely competitive. They should be proud of where they're at. I don't know where their expectations were, but they've been awesome so far. And obviously, they're going to compete, right? And I think, I would say for those of us further back in the standings, luckily they've joined later, so they won't pass us up in points. But I know, Nick, you're 31st in points, I think, and Cody's, through 3 or 4 races, right behind you. It's soon to get me, and it's only a point in time where Nicholas will catch me, unfortunately. So, again, I don't understand why I'm racing for points, but I feel like I need to for whatever reason. So number 2, and Nick, this is obviously where you're going to have the complaints. Must be, because you must have thought Danson was going to be number 1.
No. Sorry, Danson.
I know what his complaint's going to be. Actually, I think
it's unfortunately I think it's Motor, or it's after the turns bias. What are your last 3 finishes? What, like 7th, 38th, and first?
Whoa! So Danson was 6th at Kansas. He was fat. He was going to be fast at Dover, and he had the issue there, and he won, right? And I think when you talk about power rankings, right, I think a win has weight there, right? So I think, Danson, I would think we talked a few weeks ago about what your favorite win was in iRacing. I've got to imagine this is pretty far up there, especially the battle at the end. And I think that accounts for something. Yeah. So that's why I had you at number 2.
Yeah, I think it's a great choice. Putting me up in the top 2 for sure. I think it's. I might have touched on it a few weeks ago, but like one of the early episodes, but. It's as general, like I don't feel like I've had a great season, so far in Cup. But then when I think about it, Phoenix was borderline, should have maybe been a win. It was sort of me and Agnell kind of going at it, and then all that sort of shit went down to the end, and I got junked. So nothing to show for it. Homestead was the whole sort of draft, the dirty air sort of nonsense. If I go whatever it was, 100th. 2000ths, whatever it was, of a second faster in quali and get pole instead of P2, then I have the ability to control the dirty air and maybe I'll win that race as a result, because Sam ran up front for the vast majority of that race and then kind of got screwed with the strategy in the end. But like I feel like that one position change really changes how that race plays out, and so on and so forth. So when you slowly balance things out, the season hasn't really been that bad. I've been fast in most of them, so I think P2 is fair. Like as we were going through the list, I was actually thinking, gee, I wonder where Daniel's going to be, Eberhardt. But
I mean, but then he's not raced, and he's been 39th and 40th, right? Well, and he's something. Right. He's in the 20s in points, and I think we all expect Daniel to work his way back up here. But based on the previous results, there's. I can't put him on there, right? And I think look at the numbers. Exactly. You can't. But it is absolutely shocking. We know the talent's there, right? So we know Daniel will be a factor when the playoffs come.
But Daniel can't get too comfortable with where he is, because the win only counts if you're top 25. He's 24th right now.
I didn't know that.
He has to get stepping on it. Yeah, you have to be.
So
top
you're saying when I win that race at Daytona. So I'm still going to miss the playoffs because I'm 29th in points.
Yeah.
You have to be top 25. Like, I remember the whole broadcast, it started off like, okay, I have to win this race, but I also have to be top 25 in points for it to count. So Daniel's 24th. He's I don't even know how many points he is to the good, but it can't be many. So he has to I get he doesn't really have to worry about it that much, but he also has to stop not finishing races, because while you're finishing he's finishing 32nd, 33rd, and those people that are running 25th in points, they're getting 13th, 14th, the more points that he lets up,
Yeah, it's
just
only a
gonna
10-point
do
gap,
himself in a hole.
right? So he's got Grant Davis and Jaron Weinmaster behind him, who they've been running pretty solid. They've been running top 20 all year, right? So you continue to make mistakes, and that 10-point gap becomes nothing. At the same point, Daniel, you start running how we all know you will, right? It'll quickly become, I think, a non-factor. Liam, you see how many positions you've gained. You actually jumped Daniel in the point standings this week, right up to 23rd.
Yeah, 4.
After missing a couple weeks, with one good finish, right? So, I think we know Daniel's more than capable of that,
Yeah.
I'm sure. The more pressure that's put on him to stay in the top 25, we'll see that.
Well, then who's number 1?
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know who it could be.
I wonder.
Yeah,
It's me again. It's my name
What?
twice.
No way. Who is that guy?
Nicholas Mara? I knew it. It was that half a race at COTA that put me to the top.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
this was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
And I know Farinaj didn't. I think he finished like 6th, right? But I mean, you went for the last 5 races before that. I mean, it was an undisputed, right? The one comment I'll add here before we go to our upcoming schedule for after the turns is, I've butchered Andrew's name up until last episode. I still don't understand how the end of that name with RZ is pronounced Farinaj. Like, where's the J? So I'm not understanding that still. But I'll take everyone's word for it. I'm not understanding it. I should just stop. So
We call him Drew.
we'll just call him Drew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I just sent you an image, Matt, of
You're gonna
of
make
one
me
thing
work
I
on the
wanted
fly
to.
here. I don't necessarily like that, but maybe
Sorry.
I'll work
Sorry,
it up here.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's just it's very grainy because it was just haphazardly taken by me off with my phone off the screen. But there was a part of the race that was a little bit contentious, I suppose. As I was coming back through the field, like with the fresher tires, and there's some of the guys that done the undercut. One of those was our number 1 power ranking driver, Andrew, and unfortunately, he was the victim of a bit of netcode. I can't help but feel like the line he was taking, though, was always going to end up in a wreck. Even if it wasn't netcode, it would have probably been a wreck at some point in time anyway, which we'll be able to see in a second here. But kind of felt a little bit bad for this because it kind of scooted him wide. It didn't really... I don't know if he needed to spin out. I think it kind of scooted him wide, and then I don't know if he fully spun or not. He might have just gone sideways, but that might have cost him maybe 1 position in that race. So that's, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I noticed he was. Yeah, I don't know if you got it, but yeah, so that wasn't ideal. I felt a little bit bad for that, but I guess. But look at that! Hell yeah! Look at that quality.
It's not. I don't know if it's on there.
It's just insane, man.
Yeah, we're 2 hours into the episode. It's almost 12:45 here. Just deal with it. Deal with this broadcasting here. Very grainy. I'll get it down here. There we go. Oh wow, this is not
Hell
good.
yeah. There we go.
Okay.
That's good. That's great. That's
There we
that's
go.
what
Good
need to
enough.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the point of contact. So having said that, though, like I said, I feel like the line he's taking there. Now, mind you, he's on the older tires. He's struggling at this point in time. I think this is my first or second lap out with the fresh tires. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fresh, and I think that was kind of a lose-lose situation for Drew there. He probably just needed to just run the second lane. I don't know. He might not have even thought I was there to the inside. Actually, now that I look at that, I think he was just taking his normal line and didn't think I was even to the inside. But whatever. It's just one of those deals.
So, are you showing us this pass? So we should be putting you first in the power rankings.
No. I just thought it was a good opportunity for me to say sorry, Drew, because he's got no presence on any social media for me to message him and say, "Hey, man, there was netcode there." So hopefully. Hopefully
how do you think we got him scheduled for the show? I had to reach out to him on an iRacing private message, and it was not quick.
Oh, wow.
So.
Well, let's talk about that schedule because I know we're going to be.
So weird.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, right? Like, you would think someone with that iRacing stature would have social media, So.
Yeah.
It's.
So here's the schedule, Matt. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so I what I will say is I'm excited about this list, and number one, I'm excited about it because everyone on this list are people that have reached out to us that want to be on the show. As the producer here, I have not reached out to anyone, and the attitude is, we're here with open arms. If you want to join us, reach out. We'd love to have you. We'd love to learn a little bit more about you. I think we're at episode 6 now. We're wrapping up, and I think that's super exciting. That's more than we ever thought we'd have here. And look here, we have, 7 more guests lined up. I think we have 1 week open, the week of 7/6, through the month of July, which is exciting. We wanted to schedule things so we can prepare a little bit more. And the people who had reached out to us, absolutely, if you want to be on the show, we want to have you, right? So if you're interested, reach out to me. I am unlike Andrew. I am available on all social media platforms. Just reach out to me on our After the Turns account or on Discord or on Facebook, or I don't care, right? So reach out, express your interest. I think, it was, again, really awesome to have this graphic displayed on the broadcast, yesterday. We've got, I think the only update here, which may be new for people, is that Jeremy Miller is going to be on after Atlanta. And I think Jeremy is someone, again, we've wanted, and that's not to say we don't want everyone. I think we're very excited for all the people on this guest list here. But Jeremy is someone we're very excited about adding to the list here. So, I think we have a pretty full schedule here. We'll continue to try to keep a consistent cadence it says 11 p.m. Eastern. You know what? We're not going to be on time. I think we've
It's not Danson time.
episodes in. What's that?
Danson rolls in 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late. Here we are.
We'll be a little late, but you know what? If you follow us, you'll get that live alert. So you won't have to be sitting here waiting. You'll get that alert on your phone via Twitch. So go ahead and follow us. We have 15 followers, 16 followers now, which is super exciting. Again, way more success than we had, ever anticipated. So thank you to everyone who's listened and participating in chat. Extremely awesome. And the more participation we have in the chat and, even in just the RSR Discord, means we're doing something right? So that's what we're trying to cultivate here. So that's extremely awesome. Again, if you're interested, reach out to me if you're interested in being in the show. I think, the weeks after Loudon, we have a couple of IROC races. So just like we're having Evan on after the All-Star race for kind of those one-offs, we're looking to provide someone who's going to be maybe not one of the drivers, an opportunity to talk a little bit more about maybe outside of iRacing and kind of get outside of this a little bit. We'll see who's coming. Hopefully some good surprise guests. But again, follow us on Twitch for the live alerts. Watch us after the turns episode, any other time after this. And then you can find us on Spotify and even Apple Podcasts if you just search After the Turns. So, again, excited about, all the support we've had. And I think this lineup kind of echoes the support around the league. So we're very excited about this.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up. But before we do, Liam, we obviously want to thank you for your time and for joining us for 2.5 hours. Who do you need to thank? Who do you want to thank? Your sponsors, team, all that.
I guess I got to thank all my teammates back at Unattached, Blaze Crawford, Max Brady, all those guys, Austin Johnson. I learned a bunch off of them. Got to thank my friend Riley Thompson. Learned a bunch of road stuff off of him. So I pretty much owe all the speed I had yesterday to him to learn how to take corners, I guess. But I got to thank him. Got to thank Splash and Go Graphics, Liam Brotherton. He made my paint at the start of the season. No questions asked. He just made it, so it was cool. So Phoenix Designs him too. Other than that, carrying a thing above my passenger windshield window, racing for John. We miss you every day, John. John King of the Major Series. I'm pretty sure Matt was in there for Bathurst. So we miss you every day, John King. So rest in peace. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me on the podcast and everything. Down to do this another time if you guys need a guest on the podcast and everything. And yeah, thanks for all you do for the league, because it's really a cool thing to have to the league and stuff, and pretty cool.
Yeah, we are gonna. I think Matt and we are gonna want to have you on again. So I think we can pretty much confirm that. So stay tuned. I'm sure at some point. And Danson, who would you like to thank for your win? Hint, hint. You're getting a redo. You're getting a redo.
Well, obviously, I'd first and foremost like to thank both of you guys, particularly Matt for driving to my door. Slash the front. Like as much as he slowed me down on the straights, maybe it gave me extra downforce in the corners.
Exactly.
So it might have actually helped.
I pulled the fender out like Sterling Marlin at Daytona, baby. Yeah,
exactly. Of course, thanks to you guys for having me on here, and I mean, really, if we're honest, you should thank me for being on here for you, but no. And of course,
he just couldn't get one compliment. We just couldn't do it. I knew we were never going to do it. Okay. Yes. Anyway.
Hey, I complimented your like technique. Spinning.
You didn't see it. If you saw it, you would have been really complimented.
No, I saw it. Sam sent me a video specifically, and he said it was.
Oh, Sam, you got to send us the video. We need the video. If anyone has the replay of that, send the video. We'll play it on next week's podcast.
If he does, I just put it in. I need to see it if someone's actually.
Yeah, ASAP. Yeah, let's not wait.
Because it was as impressive. I know he's lying. He's lying. Just like the over 4K gives you the grip. But anyway.
No, it was cool. Just down the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, you still don't believe me about the extra grip. It's true. Trust me.
No, it's not. No. Thank Logitech. Thank your sponsors. We're wrapping this up. Thank Logitech.
Hang on. Where's my thing? Oh, shit.
They're going to have to start paying us royalties.
We've got too many sponsors, so we've got 3. So we'll thank them real quick. Thanks to Gammadale Technologies, Mercury Energy, and McConey Setup Shop, the best setup shop for iRacing. If you need some setups for your open leagues, go ahead and go to McConey Setup Shop. Okay, Matt, you ready now?
VRS, Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, Race Tech Seats, Owned Live, Sam, Blacklock Media, all the wider sort of Logitech G Altus Esports group. Simon, the guy who runs the team, is an absolute superstar. We've got some big news coming actually with the team very soon, which will be very exciting. And of course, as far as the Oval crew on Altus is concerned, things are looking good for everyone not named Matt Danson to make it through to round 2 and really make a strong account of what we do and head towards the Pro Series.
Well, with that, you did win. You still won our race, so you're number 1 in our hearts, even if not in Road to Pro right now. So
the Power Rankings.
Yeah, congratulations, of course.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll win next week. I think we want Liam to win. Well, Liam, you're going to have to win at Sonoma, and you're going to have to win at Road America. Sorry, you won this week. So give us one of those wins, Liam. Hopefully. We're very excited about that. I learned.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, well, Liam, honestly, I had no idea about that until.
Gotta be that smart guy there.
Yeah. No, this is the battle. This is the preview battle. I think if he wins, we might have to have another segment with Liam if he wins and he beats Danson.
After the turn score, 100%. 100%, we're gonna do a segment. Yes.
Yeah. So no, yeah, that's the 629. So that's a different episode for another time. Okay, but anyway, I'm excited. Next week is the longest race of the year, so we'll probably have an episode that mirrors that in terms of length, like this one did. If we see Matt's heart rate, it's probably going to burn over 1,000 calories. And,
maybe we should do it at the Indy 500 this weekend, Nick. So Nick and I are going to the Indy 500 this weekend in person, real race. Very excited. My first race in 2 years. So if you're going to the Indy 500, don't be shy. But yeah, we'll be there. And maybe I'll take my heart rate there while drinking, and that will be interesting. Probably more than I'll have at Charlotte.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have to get like life support oxygen for him after he's gonna get out of the car after the Coke 600, and someone's gonna have to give him IVs or something. But anyway, we'll find out next week. We'll find out next week on after the turn. So really appreciate you guys taking the time out. Thank you again so much, Liam, for joining us. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.